We had a surprising amount of news today, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, first, we get Carson Wentz signing, which I think this is probably the biggest thing that we had. Carson Wentz signs to the Los Angeles Rams. I don't know why. Don't ask me. I mean, I think that realistically, this is not a good thing for Cooper Kupp and Puka. Reason being is I think it just indicates that maybe this injury with Matthew Stafford is a little more serious than we initially wanted to assume. I assumed that Stafford would be good to go when he came back from the bye week. Still think that's most likely going to be the case. Sean McVay came out and he told us Matthew Stafford is most likely going to play week 11, but maybe this puts a little bit of doubt on that. Now, outside of Carson Wentz signing with the Rams, Martavis Bryant signs with the Cowboys. Martavis Bryant was a very fun player back in the day. Let me pull up how long ago it was, because, I mean, I want to say that it had to be, 4 or 5 years ago at this point that we are getting those highlight grabs from Martavis Bryant in Pittsburgh. And, oh my gosh, it was even longer than that ago. Why did this even make news? How did he sign? Last time Martavis Bryant was in the NFL was 2018 for Oakland. Yeah, so honestly, that has absolutely no impact on anything. I mean, you weren't ever going to start Brandon Cooks. You weren't ever going to start Michael Gallup anyway. This has no impact on CeeDee Lamb. Now, outside of that, Khalil Herbert did get in a full practice this Tuesday, so maybe he is good to go on Thursday. Justin Fields got in a limited practice. Treylon Burks is going to be unlikely to play in week 10. And Will Levis was named the Titans starting quarterback this week. So really that's James Conner also, they're saying they're hoping to open up the 21-day practice window for him now. I think that there is a chance that we do get James Conner back soon. But yeah, let me know in the live chat, what do you think this means with the Carson Wentz signing? Does it mean literally anything at all? Does it indicate maybe something about Matthew Stafford here? But let me know in the live chat. And as I wait for your response, we will dive into our questions. First one coming out from Go Bills says, 5-4. PBR, who do we start? 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex. We have Etienne, Kamara, Saquon Walker, Lamb, Olave, Godwin, Hopkins, and then Kittle or Ferguson. We're going to go Kittle over Ferguson, even with Debo coming back in. For our 2 wide receivers, we're going to go with CeeDee Lamb and Chris Olave. For our 2 running backs, we're going to go Etienne and Kamara. And then for our flex spot, we're not excited about it, given how bad the matchup is, how bad the offense is. We probably still have to play Saquon, though. Okay. Yeah. Looks like it doesn't really mean anything. At least nobody in the chat either thinks that we need to be panicking or anything in Los Angeles regarding the health of Matthew Stafford. I want to reiterate, we did get the report from Sean McVay yesterday saying that it does sound like Stafford will be good to go next week. Now, Jesse says 7-2 in first place. 14 team, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, double flex. Trade Downs and Singletary for James Conner. 14 team, double flex format. I'm a little bit hesitant, but yes, I would do this on a 7-2 team. We have Bijan, Montgomery, Hunt, Achane. Oh, yeah, so we have plenty of depth, especially at wide receiver. So, hell yes, I would go through and I'd make that play for James Conner, my friend. Okay. Now, Fall says, Goddard owner wants Kittle. We have Kincaid. He has Nico, Puka, Deontay, Thielen. We have London, Brian Robinson, Dotson, Jameson, Hill, Hurts, Smith on bye. Who should we trade for with Kittle? Okay. I would love to send Kittle in maybe a lesser piece and go and get up to Puka. Go and get Adam Thielen. If you could sell maybe like George Kittle and Jahan Dotson, or George Kittle and Drake London, and go out there and get either Puka or Adam Thielen, I think it'd make a lot of sense. Now, if you do have these players on bye, maybe we use it as a tiebreaker to say, okay, maybe we don't want to go out there and make a play for another wide receiver on a bye week like Puka, right? So maybe our plan A here would be to go out there and see if we could get Adam Thielen. Okay. Now, Fall says also try to flip Rashad for Montgomery. Yes, I would rather have David Montgomery over Rashad White. And Gabe says 6-3, have BBR. Team is Allen, Diggs, Amon-Ra, Pacheco, White, Achane, Moore, Laporta, London, Nico, Jacoby. What's the best we could get for Taysom / any moves? So Taysom is someone that honestly I disrespected and was too low on. And we are definitely going to try to fix that if we can. And I will rank him as that must-start guy going forward. Now, with that being said, do we expect to be able to get much at all from Taysom Hill? No, in reality, I don't think that you're going to be getting much here if you do try to go out there and trade him. Now, if you were going to be looking to maybe package him with someone else to go get an upgrade elsewhere in the lineup, I think that Nico Collins could be a player that maybe we are looking to send off depending on the price tag. And then also I would say if we're going to go through and look at what we have with Rashad White, these players that are coming off big weeks, but the underlying volume, maybe we're not super excited about. Now, Machine says 14 team. I'm sorry, we are excited about Rashad White's volume, but the offense we're not. Now, Machine says 14 team, 6-3. 1 QB, 1 running back, 2 receivers, 1 flex. Trade Lawrence, Barkley, Deontay for Jalen Hurts and Bijan Robinson. So going from Lawrence to Jalen Hurts, massive upgrade. Barkley to Bijan Robinson, downgrade. We're paying Deontay to get it done. I would be okay if you wanted to make this deal if you expect Bijan Robinson to be much better going forward. I mean, Bijan Robinson and Saquon Barkley both are dealing with very different issues fundamentally right now. Obviously, in the case of Saquon Barkley, it's just that he is in the worst offense or one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Whereas in the case of Bijan Robinson, it's just he doesn't have a role in the red zone. So, I mean, it really does come down to your personal preference on those running backs. I think it's probably a fine deal, one that I'm not super excited about, though. Now, Ajani says 12 team, have BBR, 3 receivers, 2 flex. We traded Lamb, Kate Otten for Kelsey and Hollywood. Great move. We have Chase, Diggs, Waddle, and Smith. Hawkinson at tight end. Gives tight end depth barring an injury / bye. We need wide receiver depth. Also, tight ends get a full BBR. Actually, full BBR that makes so much sense for us to go out there and get Travis Kelce. I love it. I mean, if you're getting the doubling in points per reception for tight ends over the other positions, I'm actually fine going through and having both Kelce and Hawkinson on the same team in that instance. And that obviously at that point, if you're getting the double points for receptions, you could say that we are excited to flex a tight end, right? I'd be completely fine going out there and flexing TJ Hawkinson here. I think it's a good move. Now, Robert says 3 receivers, 12-team league. We have Lamar, Amon-Ra, Olave, Nico, Barkley, JT, Montgomery. And then on the bench, Warren, Demario Douglas, Wandale, Algier, Kyler, Kyron. We traded Barkley and Nico for Justin Jefferson. Did we overpay? First off, I think it's a very good team. I understand why we would look to go out there and make this play where we have Kyron Williams coming back from the IR next week. I'm sorry, in 2 weeks. I do think we maybe overpaid a little bit. I'm fine with the overpay because of our running back depth. I would have just assumed that it would have been easier to get a better price, right? Because with Jefferson, while I really am rooting for for Joshua Dobbs rest of season, it is very tough to say that this is going to be a good offense in Minnesota. Now, Stone Cold Kittle says Bijan or Achane rest of season. If you look at the flockfantasy.com community rankings currently, they will tell you Devon Achane. So most people in this live stream would rather have Achane. I'd probably rather have Bijan, but I'm an idiot. Jack says 1 QB full BBR. Robinson, Stevenson, Achane, Hubbard, Algier, Dillon, Johnson, Lamb, Thielen, Smith, Dell. Offer Dell for Harris and any other trade ideas. My thing is, I don't think Najee Harris does anything for this team. I think that if you look at what we could do by selling Tank Dell, which is not a horrible idea, I mean, depending on the price point, is I think I'd rather take another depth running back piece and go get a significant upgrade at RB. As Najee Harris gives you RB depth, but he doesn't give you that player at the very top end that we're excited to start from week to week perspective. And you do have more than enough depth at running back as is here. We just don't really have that top end guy. So I would rather package him with someone like Ramondre Stevenson coming off a great week against Washington and see what we could get there. Now, Miles says 7-2, 12-team BBR, single flex. We have Fields, Etienne, Jacobs, Roschon, Tyreek, Kupp, Adams, Rice, Jason, Dotson, Schultz. We just traded Jefferson, Hollywood, Douglas for Tyreek and Dotson. Was this a good move? Phenomenal move. Jefferson and Tyreek is a massive upgrade with the Cousins injury. Douglas has really no value in single flex format. All we're doing is downgrading from Hollywood to Jahan Dotson. Love it. And then now, honestly, I think we're probably going to be sitting with this team as is. Just have to get through the Cooper Cup bye week, and hopefully you have to get Justin Fields back and healthy this week. He is limited at practice. There's a chance that he is good to go on Thursday. But yeah, I think you have a great team. Jack says Hall and Kyron for Bijan, Algier, Dell, or switch Dell for Thielen or Smith. Okay. Hall to Bijan. Most people would rather have Breece Hall. I think it's very close. Kyron to Algier and Dell. Give me Kyron Williams, to be honest. So if you could switch, say, Dell with Thielen or Smith, the trade would be much more appealing in there. I think you could go ahead and make it. As it stands now, I wouldn't be super, super excited to sell Breece Hall at this price point. David says 12-team full BBR. We have Hurts, Pollard, Tajee, Adams, Debo, Ridley, Goddard. And then on the bench, Dell, Dotson, Kyler, Algier, Rice, Charbonnet. I'm 3-6, still in the playoff hunt. What move should we make and any traits? Obviously, if we're 3-6, we're looking at points now, not later. So I would say when we're looking at some of these options down there at the bottom end that are rookies that maybe have the long-term upside, but not much right now, I would love to go through and see if we could maybe send away one of these rookie wide receivers like Rashee Rice, who does show that long-term upside, but maybe send Rashee Rice and get back a tight end that we can actually be comfortable with, right? I mean, it sucks that we have to deal with the Dallas Goedert injury, but there are a lot of tight ends that are coming on right now. So if you wanted to go through and try to make a play and send two of these wide receivers and go get someone like Dalton Kincaid, I think that'd make a lot of sense. Shane says Mostert and JSN for Najee and Gus. Who wins and why? I think Mostert and JSN wins because I think Mostert's the best player in the deal, and I'm not super excited to start either Najee or Gus going forward, even if Gus keeps scoring touchdowns. Johnny says also Mahomes on bye. Are we going to ride Kyler or get Joshua Dobbs? Kyler plays. We will just go ahead and we'll play Kyler, my friend. Jacob says 5-4 full BBR. Got offered Stroud, Pittman for Achane, Love. Love to Stroud, obviously massive upgrade. Achane to Pittman, downgrade. We have Fields, Saquon, Kyron, Wilson, Ridley, Pickens, Andrews. So I honestly don't think we go through and make the deal. While I agree we are going to be getting that massive upgrade at quarterback from Jordan Love to CJ Stroud. If we get Justin Fields back this week or next week, I don't necessarily know how much we need that upgrade at quarterback. So it does seem like we are selling Devon Achane when we don't really need to. At a price point, that's not great. Now, David says drop Algier, Spears, or Charbonnet for Elijah Mitchell. See, probably neither. None of the above, my friend. None of the above. Sean says Puka for Gibbs and Higgins. Oh, yeah, I would go Gibbs and Higgins over Puka. We have CMC, Pollard, and Monreal Olave with Douglas and Spears as my wide receiver 3 in a flex. It's a 3 wide receiver single flex league. Yeah, so especially if the depth matters a little bit more here, I would pivot from Puka at that price. Now, Lil Boy Blue says 8-1 traded Thielen for Kupp. What are your thoughts? I think it's a great trade. Obviously, Kupp's been very bad over the past 2 weeks, But Matthew Stafford's been injured over the past 2 weeks. I think he'll be much better going forward. Seabass says 12-team PPR, 1 QB. We have Lawrence, Howell, Saquon, Jacobs, Olave, Amari, Puka, Schultz, Lockett. What can we do to get better? Possible trade offer at the moment. Jamar Khalil for Olave, Saquon. I think we go ahead and we go make that play for Jamar Chase. Outside of that, I think the roster stands as is. But in terms of Saquon Barkley's value going forward, I am saying this as someone who drafted a ton of Saquon Barkley. I wish I didn't, because this is a laughably bad offense, and I mean a laughably bad offense. You have an 11-point implied team total for the New York Giants this week. So even if I have a lot of Barkley, even if he is the entire team, if the team's scoring 11 points on a week-to-week perspective, it doesn't matter. Nicholas says, we have Ertz, Dobbs, Carr, or Fields week 10. I would definitely go Justin Fields if he plays. If he doesn't, I'm going to go Joshua Dobbs over Derek Carr in a 4-point passing touchdown league. Let me refresh this so we can keep bringing these up. And as I do this, please, if you have not done so already, ladies and gentlemen, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. We are right now 3 likes away from 100 likes on this stream. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And on top of that, a Bryce Young special pick of more than less than half a total yard, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you take advantage. Now, Sawyer says 8-1, 10-team PBR double flex. We have Hurts, CMC, Brees, Swift, Ramondre Spears, Charbonnet, Brown, Amari, Judy, JSN, London, Michael Thomas, Andrews, Kincaid. Should we send Ramondre and Kincaid for Puka, or any other ideas? So I really like that idea in particular. Great move to go and sell Ramondre in the backup tight end to go get an upgrade at the flex spot. The only thing that I would say is I want a better upgrade. So yes, that's the trade that we are looking to make. I think you need to go out there and you need to charge a higher price tag, if I'm going to be honest, though. Now, Levi says White and Collins for Adams or White for Pollard. Oh, I definitely get trade White for Pollard. Easy move. And I have more Rashad White than Tony Pollard this year. Joey says Hurts on a bye. I have no idea what to do for quarterback. Currently, we have Bryce Young. Could get either Heineke or Mac Jones off the waiver wire. Young does play the Bears. Heineke plays the Cardinals. If you look at the implied team totals, the Atlanta Falcons are supposed to score significantly more points than the Carolina Panthers. Like right now, if you look at the underdog pick 'em and what you have for Bryce Young with the expectations in this game, you have him at 221.5 passing yards this year. He doesn't run the ball at all either, right? So honestly, I'd say almost anything but Bryce Young at this point. Now, Brady says, hey, Mason, 10-team Dynasty, full BBR. What do you think about trading White and Kittle for Pollard, or should we try to get Wilson? Wilson would be an absolute no-brainer. I know Pollard's a little bit of a younger running back, but still, I mean, this is someone that is on the franchise tag. He's off his rookie deal. We've seen how the NFL is going to treat these running backs from a year-to-year perspective. It's very difficult to know if Pollard's going to really be anything next year. I would love to go out there and get Garrett Wilson at this price. Michael, happy to see us as 7-2, 12-team Superflex League. We have Burrow, Baker, Barkley, Kyron Pierce, Henderson, A.J. Brown, Kirk, Nico, London, Flowers, Downs, Kittle, McBride. Any package ideas? Going back to what we were discussing previously, I think it could be an interesting spot to go and see what we could get for Saquon Barkley right now. I would say, especially when we have this many wide receivers that we'd feel comfortable with, if you wanted to go through and see if we could send Saquon Barkley and Nico Collins and see if we can pivot over and get a significant upgrade at running back, I think that would be something I'd look to do, my friend. Jordan says 5-4, very important week. Kyler or Goff this week in a 4-point passing. Thank you for including that. I will probably go Goff this week. We can make an argument for Kyler rest of season, but it will be Kyler Murray's first week back. Goff should be playing in what I believe to be the highest scoring game of the week. If you look at over-unders, I'm worried about finally benching Bijan for Gibbs, Jones, Walker, and he ends up breaking out versus Arizona. I think that all these guys are about in a similar range, and if you wanted to go through and if you wanted to play Bijan over someone like Gibbs, not going to fault you for it at all with Montgomery coming back in. I think I could see an argument for either or. And obviously, I'm not going to tell someone to go through and say that you have to bench Bijan Robbins. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Now, Caleb says Tua and Walker for Fields and Bijan. I'm going to go, dear God. Also, DK for Devontae Adams. Give me Adams. DK may be a better wide receiver this week because he plays Washington. And then Stroud, Fields, CMC, JT, Bijan, Kyron, or Madre Madison. Jefferson, Keenan, Devontae, Deontay, Laporta. What are your thoughts? If we have Stroud as well, I'm fine making this play based off what you have in the long term with Kenneth Walker. I think Kenneth Walker is going to be great in the short term. Issue is long term, the matchups that he has. This week, you'll probably be regretting it with him going up against Washington, but I think you'll be better. He plays the 49ers like 2 of the next 4 weeks. Now, Julian says, what's up, Mason? Got offered Olave for Montgomery. We have Hall, Pollard, White with Tyreek and Jefferson. Love the videos. Appreciate you, my friend. And yeah, I mean, completely fair deal if you wanted to go out there and make it. I would say that you probably want to be charging a premium. However, if you are going to go out there and sell a running back for a wide receiver. Like, at least in my mind, if you go through and make running back versus wide receiver rankings, it is so much easier to rank wide receivers and find wide receiver points than running back. But definitely a fair deal if you wanted to make it. Probit says DJ Moore, Zay Flowers for Achane and Pickens. Going back to what we were discussing previously, it's much harder to find running back production. So I'd be okay if you wanted to go Achane here. I wouldn't love it. I do think that DJ Moore and Flowers could be intriguing buy low guys, though. Now, Potsnob says drop one, Quentin Johnson, Charbonnet, or Ferguson. We're going to drop Quentin Johnston. I talked about him in that waiver wire video yesterday as an interesting pickup with the Joshua Palmer injury, but I think you showed us last night that probably still should not pick him up. Now, Brian says 10-team PBR, 5-4. We have Allen, Kyler, Jefferson, Allen, Waddle, Watson, Addison, Ingram, Ferguson, Montgomery, Etienne, Deontay, Hunt. What wide receiver for Kyler? And what are your thoughts? Should we trade for JSN? I would probably want a better wide receiver than Jackson Smith and Jigba for Kyler. Obviously, it does make sense for us to go through and for us to look to sell off Kyler if we already have Josh Allen. Instead of selling Kyler for a wide receiver straight up, I would love to package together Kyler with someone like Jordan Addison, one of these depth wide receivers, and that if we go out and trade for another receiver, someone like Addison, when Jefferson comes back in, probably not going to be super viable for us. And I'd love to send Addison and Kyler away for an upgrade at wide receiver, if we could. I'd like to make that 2-for-1 deal rather than just selling him straight up. Now, Mike says, have BBR 12-team standard league. We have Mahomes, Chase, Olave, Madison, Montgomery, Henderson, Pacheco, Hockenson, Douglas, Dobbs, Kyler. Trading Kyler and +1. Who should we aim for? Brown, Adams, Edwards, Ridley, Kamara, Eckler, Hall, Jacoby, Downs, Herbert, and Purdy available. Completely agree in going through and selling Kyler on a Mahomes team. Now, with that being said, I wouldn't mind if you wanted to go through and wait until we got through the Mahomes bye to then go through and make this trade next week. But still, definitely something that we are looking to do overall. Now, I'm going to be looking to hold on to Madison now with the Cam Akers injury. We do have plenty of depth with this team. I think probably we're just going to look to go out there and upgrade the flex if we can. So if you wanted to send maybe like Darrell Henderson, someone that's not going to be viable in the long term with Kyler Murray, and just go pivot for someone that we're more excited about for the flex, maybe go get someone like Adams. If the Adams owner is panicking, we could look to do that. Or obviously, if you wanted to see if we can go and get that top tier option and send like Olave and Kyler and go get Brown and go get, or go get Eckler or go get Kamara. That's something we can try. I just think maybe it's going to be a little bit more difficult. Now, Tago says 12-team PBR 5-4. We have Hurts, CMC, Hall, Olave, Deontay, Nico, Taysom. And then on the bench, Goddard, Godwin, Warren, JSN. Should we trade Nico, Godwin for one of Ayuk, Waddle, or Devonta Smith, or should we hold? So if it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, we have plenty of wide receiver depth here. If I could make this move for Waddle, I probably do it. For Ayuk, maybe not, just because we have Debo coming back in. So yeah, I think it's a move that we can look to make. It really does just come down to the price point that we are getting back there. Now, the name I can never pronounce coming out saying, Submay said 6-3, 12-team full BBR. We have Lamar, White, Gibbs, Diggs, Zay, JSN, Kincaid, Judy, Shaheed. Want to trade Diggs, but I need to know what we can go for and what ads we could potentially get. So, my friend, I am not looking to sell Stephon Diggs if we don't have to. Like, I don't necessarily know why we would. My preference would probably just be going through and instead churning through waivers and seeing if we can find some depth, especially on a 6-3 team. Now, if we're going to go ahead and pull up what we have here with, say, the community rankings on flockfantasy.com, currently have Stephon Diggs as the 5th player in these community rankings, only behind CMC, Tyreek, AJ Brown, Jamar Chase. He's directly ahead of Kelsey, Eckler, Keenan, Kamara, and ETN. So maybe if you wanted to send like Stephon Diggs and in return get back like Travis Etienne and then another player that's in like the low second round here, maybe go like Etienne and maybe we'll have to, and Mark Andrews. Actually, no, we have Kincaid. We're not doing that. Etienne and like Cup. Etienne and like Higgins. Maybe that would be the move that you are looking to make. But going back to what I was talking about previously, especially on a 6-3 team where we have a little bit more of a longer timetable, I would probably rather just opt to see if we can make moves with waivers rather than having to sell a stud. Let's go through our next question coming out from, I believe, Nathaniel says, full BBR, who do you flex, Flowers, Tank, or JSN? JSN does have a great matchup. I'm not going to be playing JSN just yet. However, my friend, honestly, I don't necessarily think that's something we want to do. God, I'm sorry. My eye is killing me here. I don't know what got in it. Between Tank and Zay Flowers, these guys are pretty damn close. With Tank Dell, you do have Las Vegas sportsbooks telling us the Texans offense is going to fall down significantly this next week. You have an applied team total of about 22 points for the Baltimore Ravens, whereas Tank Dell and his offense is sitting at about 20.5. Zay Flowers has a consistent target share. Flowers is the better rookie coming in. I am probably going to go Zay Flowers here. But if you look at my rankings this week, I believe I only have Tank Dell ranked like 2 or 3 slots behind, so you could go in that direction if you want. Now, Sally says 12-team, 5-4, have BBR single flex. Lawrence, Etienne, Hubbard, Hill, Higgins, Metcalf. And then on the bench, Charbonnet, Dotson, Downs. Should we flip Etienne for Madison, Pacheco, or other running backs? So here, I understand the thought process that we don't have a ton of depth here, right? But honestly, no, you already have Travis Etienne through his bye week. Chuba Hubbard is the starting running back in Carolina. So I think you have enough depth to get by. So I would say if you are selling Travis Etienne, you need a much better running back. If you can sell Etienne for like Madison and Jonathan Taylor, then sure, if you feel questionable about your depth. But at this price point, that's not something we can do. Chrissy says, 10 team, happy BR. Got offered Mixon for Kincaid and Gibbs. Do we take it? Nope. We also have Komet. They have the same buy. By the way, love the videos. Can't wait for the Bijan breakout. Neither can I. Hokamorans, my man. If you were going to trade a tight end and Gibbs for Joe Mixon, it would be Gibbs and Cole Komet. Dalton Kincaid is too high rest of season for us to be selling Kincaid at this price. Now, Ramsey says, full BBR, 3 wide receiver spots. Got offered Chase for Thielen, Amari, and Garrett Wilson. So obviously, in a league where you have to start 3 wide receivers, depth's going to matter a little bit more. It does not matter. You take Jamar Chase here, especially with Chase already through his bye. Rusty, always happy to see us, says, 12-team happy BR format, single flex. We have Allen, Kyler, Higgins, Deontay Pittman, Eckler, Bijan, Gibbs, Ford, Pierce, Ferguson. Any moves or no on the waivers? I have waivers for Dell, JSN, Keaton Mitchell. Dropping Watson, Henderson, Singletary. Thanks. Thank you, my friend. I'll say, to be honest with you, I'd probably rather have Devin Singletary over Keaton Mitchell if Dameon Pierce is going to miss any more time. We definitely drop Henderson and Watson for Dell and JSN. And then the only thing I'd say is if we have guys like, say, Dell and JSN that we're able to pick up off waivers here, our league mates probably not the best in terms of optimizing their teams at the very bottom. So I would always be looking to go through and I would always be looking to make 2-for-1 deals, open up spots at the very bottom end. That way we can just backfill with pretty much free wide receivers down there at the bottom end or free flex options in general. So, I mean, if you wanted to send like Kyler Murray and Deontay Johnson to see if you can go get a much better wide receiver when we have Josh Allen here, I think that would make a lot of sense. All-Stars, happy to see us, says Mason, thanks for everything. Love the content. Start 3. Happy BR. More Deontay, Kincaid, Hollywood, Amari. We have Laporta in my tight end slot, but was considering flexing Kincaid anyways. So I'd say in general, my friend, we are going to look to go through. We are going to be looking to sell one of these. We're probably going to sell Kincaid. Kincaid, tight end 5 for me rest of season, obviously looks great. But if we have Laporta, I wouldn't mind going through and seeing what we could do to send Kincaid to like the Dallas Goedert team. But we will be starting DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, and then between Hollywood and Amari, it's a little bit of a tougher spot because just a very, very tough matchup for Amari Cooper this week going up against the Baltimore Ravens. And for that reason, I actually probably go Hollywood for the flex. Yeah, but we're not going to flex a tight end here, even if Kincaid looks great. I'd rather go through and honestly sell him and get that upgrade at receiver. Spencer says, trade White for Aaron Jones in a full PPR format. I think it is very much up to you. Honestly, can everybody spam the chat? Who would you rather have rest of season? Would you rather have Rachaad White or Aaron Jones? I don't know, my friend. I mean, if we look at the matchups that we have on flockfantasy.com real quick, or the community rankings, I apologize. And just in case you don't know how these community rankings are generated, if you go to flockfantasy.com, then go to the rankings page, you're going to be prompted with 4 guys. You go through and rank these players and how you want them rest of season. Let's just say submit that. Then we're going to take that on flockfantasy.com in the back end. We have accumulated over 100,000 of those submissions since this was released. And we're going through and updating this list of community rankings constantly. And if you are looking at where you have Aaron Jones versus Rachaad White, Aaron Jones currently at 46, whereas Rachaad White currently at 69. So it looks like most people are preferring Aaron Jones over Rachaad White, my friend. Now, Kevin says 10-team BBR 7-2. First place. We have Lamar, White, Swift, Evans, Wilson, Taysom, Adams, Achane, Kyler, Waller, and Njoku. Should I write it out or should we make any moves? Okay. Love the team. The only thing I'd say is I don't want to be rostering 3 tight ends. So unless you have Darren Waller on the IR, I would cut Darren Waller. Second thing is when we have this kind of quarterback backup with Kyler, I wouldn't mind seeing if we could package together like Kyler and Rachaad White to see if we can go get an upgrade of significance specifically at RB because we have Lamar, of course. Cameron, happy to see a 14-team Dynasty Superflex League. Just in case you haven't played in a 14-team Dynasty Superflex League, ladies and gentlemen, a league where quarterback is extremely hard to come by. But we have Burrow, Cook, Kyron, Waddle, Puka, Watson, Addison, Ridley, Michael Pittman Jr., Laporta, Love. In 7th place, not sure what to do. We have all our draft picks. Don't want to finish in the middle. Any moves? So, I mean, going forward, this team should be in a much better spot now that we have Burrow fully healthy. We kind of are right in the middle, right? We have a lot of these contending assets that long-term don't have a lot of value. Like, we don't know what the value of James Cook is long-term. We don't know what the value of Kyron Williams is long-term. Obviously, these are players that are only in year 2, but still we know how the NFL treats these running backs. I don't know the value of Ridley long-term. Michael Pittman Jr. long-term. I would say those are guys that typically would be looking to sell if you wanted to pivot to a rebuild. If 6 teams make the playoffs in your league, I'm probably going to stay the course. And honestly, I think I'm just going to try to sneak into the playoffs. The team isn't necessarily strong enough, though, for me to feel comfortable to sell my picks. So I do think that you're in a very weird spot where I'm probably staying still. I mean, if you wanted to go out there and tear it down, say if you could find great price points where you could sell Kyron Williams and James Cook and get a future first. I mean, a future first and second for that running back duo. Go sell Ridley in a second and go get a future first. If you can get some really strong price points on rookie picks next year, maybe you pivot to the rebuild. But the issue is if you're in 7th place, it's not like we're going to get a great rookie pick ourselves. David says, fell to 5-4 this past week in an 8-team league. We have Howell, CMC, JT, St. Brown, Diggs, Jacobs, Andrews. And then on the bench, Tua, Waddle, Olave, Jones, Walker, Ingram, any trade/moves. Very easy move in my mind. I think in an 8-team league, I want a better quarterback than this. In an 8-team league, I would love to go out there and make a move for Lamar. I'd love to go make a move for any top 4 quarterback. So if we could send maybe like Tua and one of these depth wide receivers, and like Tua and Olave, and go get Jalen Hurts, I would love to make that trade. Jonathan says 10-team PBR 5-4. Start Burrow, Jacobs, Olave, Deontay, Nico, Ford, Kincaid. Then on the bench, Kyron, Brown, Pacheco, Sanders, Watson, H.N. McBride. Any trade advice? Not necessarily. I think we just have to stay the course here. I mean, obviously, this is a team that's dealing with a decent amount of injuries. A decent amount of bye weeks this week. But we're about to get Kyron back in. We're about to get Devon H.N. back in. Obviously, we only have A.J. Brown out for 1 week. So, no, I think it's a great team. I think we were just sitting on our hands, my friend. Ryan says, who should we flex between Cook, Addison, Nico, and Debo? Probably going with... I'm definitely going with the receiver. I mean, assuming Leonard Fournette plays this week, even if it's a great matchup for James Cook, not interested. I'm probably going to go Deebo Samuel, depending on the practice reports that we get. If he ends up being like a game time decision, then probably not. Nathaniel says, I'm 6-3 in a 12-team full PBR format. My team is Burrow, Etienne, Chase, Smith, Kirk, and Laporta. On the bench, we have Lawrence, Tank, Flowers, JSN, Khalil, Taysom. Thoughts on the team, and what do you think about trading for Jefferson? I don't love the idea of trading for Jefferson currently. I mean, if you wanted to go through and see if we could send like Devonta Smith and Tank Dell, Devonta Smith, Zay Flowers, Christian Kirk, Zay Flowers, Christian Kirk, JSN. If you could package those 2 guys together and get Jefferson, I would do it just for the love of God. Don't include Jamar Chase in any deal. And then honestly, really strong team, very well balanced as well. I mean, I would love to go out there and tell you to sell Trevor Lawrence because we have Joe Burrow, but the reality of the situation is, right, it's not going to get much for Lawrence at the moment. Austin says, Brees and Dak for Allen and Puka, 8-1, bro. Appreciate you, my man, and congrats. Dak to Allen, give me Allen by a mile. Brees to Puka, give me Brees. I think I'm going to go with Josh Allen and Puka still, though. Just because how bad of an offense Brees is in. Patrick says 6-3, 2 quarterback, 10-team BBR. Hurts, Kyler, Hall, Jones, Waddle, Wilson, Kelsey. And then in the flex, Deontay. And then on the bench, Achane, Connor, Spears, JSN. Any moves? For a 2-quarterback format, this is literally perfect. We have the 2 quarterbacks that we're pumped about. And at the same time, you're in a spot where you have the elite level tight end. We have running backs that are about to come back in that we're excited for. So honestly, no, I think we just have to wait until we get a healthy Achane and a healthy James Conner. Now, Logbart, happy to see us a 6-3, 12-team PBR. We have Herbert, Pierce, Madison, Wilson, Smith, Kincaid, Moore, Sutton. Traded Andrews for Devonta Smith and Sutton. I do not like this. I'm sorry. Kyron and Jefferson on the IR. Should we trade Moore and Sutton for Pollard? Yes, I would. Yes, let's turn around. Let's sell Moore and Sutton for Pollard. I think it does make the Andrews deal much better than it would have otherwise been. I mean, if you are trading for Pollard, this is about the time that we are going to have to do so, right before he's going up against the Giants. Now, J. Espinosa says 4 and 5. We traded Hurts for Puka and Swift. Now my lineup is Kyler, CMC, Pollard, Puka, Smith, Ingram, Swift. Do you think we should make another trade? I mean, not necessarily. If you're telling me that we had another solid wide receiver option that you ended up having to move down to the bench, like if, say, you move Terry McLaurin down to the bench, right, and we could then turn around and see if we can sell Terry McLaurin, Evan Ingram, pivot over to Mark Andrews, I think it would make a lot of sense. But that's just because obviously we picked up the depth elsewhere. Now, Zon says we have Puka, London, Debo, Sutton, Dell, Lockett, Etienne, Mixon, Bijan. Should we pick up Keaton Mitchell or Dotson and drop Demario Douglas, or any trade advice for our guys? Trade advice, not necessarily anything that makes a ton of sense here for this team. We're built around the elite level RBs, and we do need to find our wide receivers with depth and upside. So I would drop Demario Douglas, and I would go out there and pick up Jahan Dotson. Dotson, obviously, back-to-back weeks. And if we continue to get this kind of passing volume from Sam Howell, maybe is exciting all season. Clutchbox says, what wide receiver 2 do you think I can get for James Cook? So this is a great way to use the community rankings on flockfantasy.com. So what you can do is go over, and like I said, this is free on flockfantasy.com. My rankings are behind a paywall, but hey, the community rankings are free. So just come over here, my friend, and go, okay, I want to look at a wide receiver for James Cook. So we're just going to be looking at running backs and wide receivers in these rankings. Where does the community value James Cook right now? 102 overall. Wide receivers right ahead of him: Gabe Davis, Josh Downs, Zay Flowers, Drake London, Rashee Rice, Tyler Lockett, Chris Godwin, Calvin Ridley. So that would be about the range of a wide receiver that you would be making a trade for. If I was looking at someone that stands out to me, Zay Flowers, Chris Godwin, I'd really like in this range, my friend. Now, James says, hey, man, 2 and 7, 12-team PBR. Tua, Bijan, Madison, A.J. Pittman, Andrews, Sutton, Watson, McBride. Trade Andrews and either Madison/Bijan for Rashad, Lockett, Ferguson. Also, pick up the Baltimore running back Mitchell with the top waiver wire spot. Okay. So Andrews and Madison for Rashad, Lockett, Ferguson. Hell no, do not make that deal. I mean, Madison's actually now going to be startable with the Cam Akers injury. And then in terms of dropping one of these guys for Keaton Mitchell, I don't necessarily think so. I think that we're probably going to be sitting on our hands here. I understand that Keaton Mitchell did look very good. He is an extremely small running back that is splitting the backfield with 2 other guys, right? He's in a 3-man running back by committee. He was efficient, and I think we can root for the guy and be very realistic about his range of outcomes at the same time. Sebastian says, what's up, Mason? Love the streams, my man. Thank you. 12-team full BBR, 4 and 5. We have Stroud, Saquon, Kenny, Keenan, Lamb, Schultz, Gus. Swift and Taysom on the bench. Any moves? Thank you. Thank you. First thing is, I would start Swift over Gus. Obviously, Swift on the bye week this week, but the only guy that I'd be potentially seeing what we could get here in this range, I wouldn't mind going through and looking to sell Saquon Barkley. I have a lot of Saquon Barkley. It's just such a bad offense. It is very difficult to go out there and say that he is going to be able to overcome it, even if he gets everything in said offense, right? Just because the offensive pie is so small. Now, Kobe says 12-team BBR 8-1. Traded Barkley, Madison, Rice for CMC. Beautiful. If you can get a price like this for Barkley, we do it. Running back now, CMC, Etienne, Jacobs, Hunt. Yeah, so we even have the depth. Nasty team. Nasty team, my friend. Now, Curran says, need help. 3 and 5 double flex. We have Lamar, Bijan, Montgomery, Lamb, Higgins, Addison, James Cook. And then on the bench, Jefferson, Pacheco, Flowers, Dell, Ridley, Singletary, Stroud. Any possible trade ideas? We do have a ton of depth where if you wanted to see if we could go to the team that lost Kirk Cousins and see if we could send them maybe like CJ Stroud and Tank Dell and go get an elite level wide receiver for our starting lineup, I think that'd make a lot of sense on a Lamar build. I understand, yes, Lamar still has his bye week to go through, but I mean, you could go ahead and pick up a quarterback for that Lamar buy off waivers. See, I think honestly, maybe trying to capitalize on the massive Texans blow up on a team that has Lamar. Now, Xanth says 10-team BBR single flex. Roster is Burrow, Hall, Pollard, Chase, Thielen, McBride, Smith, Javonte, Taysom, Downs, Rice, Spears, Charbonnet, Michael Thomas. Should we make any moves? 5 and 4 started at 1 and 3, fourth in the league. If you could sell Rice and Taysom Hill and go get a significant upgrade at wide receiver, at tight ends, I think that'd make a lot of sense. I think that Taysom is a top 10 tight end rest of season, just going to be very volatile, especially in a full BBR format. So if you could go like Rice and Taysom and get over to someone like Dalton Kincaid, get over to someone like Sam Laporta, I think that'd make a lot of sense for this team. Otrabic says, what kind of running back can I trade a Kyler Dell Schultz for? Okay, so let's go ahead and let's look at what we are looking at with this package of values. So we're going to be going over the community rankings on flogfantasy.com. Kyler Murray currently is sitting at 85 here. So if we're selling, say, Kyler, Dell, and Schultz, move this over. Kyler's 85, Dell's 72, Schultz is 78. So obviously going to have to be above here. We're going to be looking at running backs that are probably ranked around 50 and above. So let's go to 50th overall in these rankings and above. You're probably going to be looking at like the Kyron Williams, Bijan Robinson, Raheem Mostert, Aaron Jones, David Montgomery, Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard range. In this range, I would love to buy Tony Pollard. I would love to buy Bijan Robinson at these price tags. I think that's what I'd be looking for. Juan says, Walker, Pollard, Saquon. Which two rest of season in a full PPR format? I'm going to go with Pollard and Saquon because at least with Saquon, you are going to get the usage as a receiver, which right now we're not getting that with Walker. Now, Michael says, Saquon, AJ, Nico for Mixon and Chase. AJ to Chase, give me Chase, especially when he's already through his bye. Saquon to Mixon, up to you. We're paying Nico to get it done. And then you're saying either for Jefferson and Jacobs. I'd rather have Mixon and Chase. I think you can make this deal if you are very much worried about the New York Giants offense. Sebastian says, question for my other league, 12-team full BBR 4 and 5. We got Stroud, Eckler, Etienne, Mostert, Lamb, Waddle, Pickens, Hawkinson, Pitts, Kyler, Jeff Wilson. Any moves you're seeing? In terms of trades, Not really. I think it's a very well-balanced team. I mean, we did have Pickens as that sell-high guy a few weeks back. Probably not going to be able to get anything for Pickens now. The only thing I'd say in terms of waiver wires, it's safe to cut Jeff Wilson Jr. at this point. We're going to get Devon Achane back next week. And even with Devon Achane being out, they're still using, 2 running backs there as the RB2 in Miami. Diego says, 10-team at BBR, 3 receivers, 5 and 4, first in points. We have Tua, Diggs, Higgins, Smith, Wilson, Dotson, Rice, CMC, Gibbs, White, Achane, Spears, Andrews. Any trades? We want Josh Allen. I don't fault you at all for wanting Josh Allen. I'd say as we prepare to get Devon Achane back in, and we already have CMC and Gibbs through their respective buys, if you wanted to take like Rachaad White and Tua and go make a move for Josh Allen here, I think it's a move that we could definitely afford to do. And I bet someone would be excited to trade for Rachaad White, considering the fact that you have him coming off the multi-touchdown game. Young Lock, always happy to see you, my man. Let me go ahead and make you a moderator on the channel. And though you're out here all the time, don't feel like you have to do anything if you don't want to. If you're a moderator, just if you see someone copying and pasting the same question over and over again, you can tell them to knock it out. If they don't, you can put user in timeout. I'll mute them for just a little bit. But it's a Submason 12-team BBR single flex. Went from 0-3 to 5-4. Hell yes. Team consists of Lamar, Eckler, Mixon, Pittman, Diggs, Smith, Goddard, Andrews, Foreman, Charbonnet, Gainwell, Moss, Dotson, Achane. Should we trade Pittman and Dotson for Adams? So Dotson really not going to make a difference here with this being a single flex format. If I'm looking at Pittman versus Adams rest of season, keep in mind Pittman was my 3rd most drafted guy, so I am very biased. I do have a lot of Michael Pittman, and I hope Michael Pittman does very well going forward. I probably still prefer Devontae Adams. And like we were saying, just especially with this team when we have the wide receivers here at the very top as well, John Dotson just really is not fundamentally going to make a difference here. So I'm fine if we wanted to go out there and make that move. Now, Justin says traded Keenan, Pollard, James Cook for Eckler, Wilson, Pacheco. Pollard to Eckler, upgrade. Keenan to Wilson, downgrade. James Cook to Pacheco, upgrade. Did I win the deal? I think it's a fair one. I don't want to say you won. I don't think there's a winner or a loser. I just think it's a fair trade. We have Lamar, AJ, Addison, Amari, and Laporte. Oh, yeah, definitely a great team now that we are adding in guys like Eckler and Pacheco. Now, Fragger Andrews says, what's a fair running back for Stevenson and Hunt want an upgrade? So let's go ahead and let's pull up the community rankings on flogfantasy.com real quick. I wonder if we should call these community values instead of community rankings. But if we're going to be selling a running back upgrade over Stevenson and Hunt's, right now Stevenson is ranked at RB22. Obviously, we're going to be looking at guys a few spots ahead of him if we are selling Kareem Hunt. I think if we could pivot over to like Pacheco, Bijan, Aaron Jones, Montgomery, Kenneth Walker, Pollard, I would love any of those RBs, my friend. Now, Bones says 12-team BBR. Trade Connor, Adams, Hubbard for Jonathan Taylor. The team is Mahomes, Walker, Henry, Jefferson, Metcalf, Laporta. Obviously, we're giving up a considerable amount of depth to go out there and make this move. I think you probably want to go to the waiver wire and see what options we're going to have off of waivers to see what we can backfill with. And if you have guys off the waiver wire that do seem like we'd be able to get some kind of depth in return, I'd be fine making it. Dax says full BBR. We have Allen, Barkley, Swift, Smith, Pittman, Kelsey, Metcalf, Moore, Flowers, Collins, Brian Robinson, Hunt, Laporta, Kyron. Any trade ideas? This is a very strong team. Once we get Kyron Williams back in, we were saying this last week, but I don't necessarily know if it's going to be as easy this week. I'm still going to be seeing what we could get to go through and sell Kareem Hunts. If you wanted to move, say, Kareem Hunt and Saquon Barkley and just pivot over to another running back like Travis Etienne there, where we're not nearly as worried about his offense, I would like that a lot. Now, Brandon says 12-team BBR. My team is Tua, Eckler, CMC, Najee, Tyreek, Godwin, Douglas, Taysom, Jonnu. The other guy I'm worried about has Allen, Kamara, Achane, Jones, Diggs, Lamb, Waddle, Kincaid, Ferguson. Would you suggest any changes? So he has you beat at quarterback. We have the entire league beat at running back. We haven't beat at wide receiver. I don't necessarily think that there's anything else that this team can do. You've already done a phenomenal job of going out there and looking at the top running backs and the top wide receivers here, accumulating those guys, and then finding upside QBs and tight ends. Like we found Taysom Hill, obviously someone that we can start going forward. So honestly, not necessarily, because it does look like we've already sold a lot of that depth to accumulate 3 of the top 5 assets in fantasy with Eckler, CMC, and Tyreek Hill. So I think you've already made the moves. I love it, my friend. Now, Echo Nation says traded Amon-Ra, Walker, Ferguson for Eckler, Ford, Kincaid. Also, Bijan, Addison for Pollard. It's an 8-team league. 8-team league, give me the best players. So yes, give me Pollard. Yes, give me Eckler. 6 and 3, we also have Hill, T. Amari. Did I win or bust? I think you probably won, just going back to what we're talking about. Like being in that 8-team format, 8-team league, I don't care about Ferguson. I don't care about Addison. I'm really just looking at who's getting the best player in the deal. Joey says, thinking about trading young Dylan Thomas for Hopkins and Mayfield. So Bryce Young to Baker Mayfield is going to be an upgrade. Going from Thomas to Hopkins will be an upgrade. We're paying Dylan to get it done. And yeah, 16-team league, so obviously we're focusing on depth. Our remaining running backs are Najee, Ford, Jaleel, and Achane. I think that we can do it because I don't necessarily know if A.J. Dillon's a running back that really makes a difference here for this team, even in that 16-team format. So yeah, I think we can make this move, my friend. And yeah, thank you so much for being a long time member of the flock. You know, I appreciate you. Now, the name I can never pronounce says DK and Jacobs for Diggs. Just want some depth. I would probably rather have Diggs there, my friend, even with your team. Augustin says we have Eckler, Bijan, Pollard, Achane. Should we sell Bijan, and for who? I would say no based off what we have currently with the value of Bijan Robinson in these community rankings. What? The community's ranking Bijan Robinson here at RB 18, so it's a mid RB 2. I think that's kind of his floor. He's getting 10 carries minimum every single week, plus 4 to 5 targets out of this backfield. So I don't know. I don't think you sell Bijan Robinson. Obviously, he's not the player that we drafted him to be when we took him round 1. But his value has fallen a considerable amount where the price point you would get is not that round 1 price point, right? Now, Magnolia, happy to see, says, love the videos. Keep it up. We traded Lawrence, London, Rice for Tua. Did we lose? We have Tua, Bijan, Achane, Jones, Jefferson, Dell, Amari, Andrews. If it's a shallow bench where you are going to be able to go out there and find some options off of waivers, I'm okay with it. It really does come down to, can we backfill that wide receiver depth off of the waiver wire? Now, Stepsis says, do I trade Diggs for Jefferson and Adams and Kupp for Pollard? Not trading Kupp for Pollard, and if it's a league where you have multiple flexes and depth matters, then yes, I'd trade Diggs for Jefferson and Adams. If it's like a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, then probably not as excited. Jordan says traded Walker, Rice for Jonathan Taylor. I like it. Running backs are JT, Bijan, Gibbs, Jones. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Gabriel says 10-team BBR is 6 and 3. We have Lamar, Bijan, Mixon, Lamb, Puka, Andrews, Higgins. And then on the bench, Flowers, Lockett, Spears, Downs, Rice, Charbonnet, McBride, Kyron, Keaton, and Deontay. I'm not going to be dropping Lockett or Rice for Keaton Mitchell. Do not do that, my friend. Yeah, so honestly, I definitely think that we should go ahead and drop Rice for Deontay Johnson. I'd rather have Lockett over Keaton Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell is an undersized running back and a 3-man running back by committee. I mean, if you wanted to go out, I mean, this is just a great team. What the hell can we do? I would love to go through and sell like Downs and Lockett and just go get a slightly better wide receiver that we're a little more excited about. Really like a move like that, sending 2 wide receivers down there on the bench just and trying to consolidate and getting someone that maybe is a little bit better. Makes a lot of sense because can we ever start someone like Downs here? You know, ever? Most likely not. Now, Colton says, drop Moss, Fournette, Ingram for a quarterback. My team is Jones, Javonte, Wilson, Pickens, Montgomery, Ford, Kupp, Puka, Achane, and then QB waiver wire priorities. If we had to drop one of these players, we'd probably drop Fournette. And then our quarterback waiver wire options, I think the guy that's going to be available in the most waiver wires that's an easy pickup to play in the short term will be Joshua Dobbs, based off him having the great supporting cast and then obviously him having the rushing upside at the same time. Now, Ryan says, 10-team BBR single flex, 6-3. We need some advice. We have Fields, Bijan, Brees, Gibbs, JT, Lamb, Kupp, JSN, Rasheed, Judy, Laporta. Do we trade Bijan for Jefferson straight up? Thank you. Thank you, my friend. So we have the running back depth where we can go ahead and we can make this move if you really wanted to. I mean, if you look at what we have currently with the community rankings on flogfantasy.com, I mean, you currently have Jefferson at 17 overall, whereas you have Bijan Robinson at 49 overall. So they're saying that it's a very, very easy move to make. I think that they're a little bit closer than that would indicate, but yeah, you probably have to do it. Now, Robert says, Montgomery to get Bijan, is it a good deal? Non-PBR format, give me Montgomery. Full PBR league, give me Bijan. Now, Bo Spam says 12-team PBR 8-1. We traded Kelsey and Ridley for H.N. Kittle, Dell. I really do not like this. I would have rather had Kelsey. We have Herbert, Eckler, Lamb, Stevenson, Ford, Rice. How did I do? I like the team. I just think that Travis Kelsey is by far and away the best player here. Even if he's had 2 down weeks, I think it's going to be fine. Gabriel says, continuation. My idea is Lockett. Roller coaster is tough. Want to stash running back since I'm tied for first. Can use Flowers, Karen, and Rice for a starting RB. It does make sense. I mean, obviously, if you are in first place, a lot of the times you are going to be looking for those guys that could fundamentally turn into every week starters. Whereas like someone like Tyler Lockett, one of those depth, volatile wide receivers, is someone that we're very excited about in, say, in Underdog Best Ball Draft. However, with that being said, it's going to be very difficult seeing him turn into that every week starter. So I understand where you are coming from here. I don't know. I mean, obviously, you have a lot of flexibility, though, being in first place. Now, Ryan says, I'm 8-1. It's a 10-team BBR. The team is Hurts, Etienne, JT Pierce, Diggs, Wilson, Ayuk, Deontay, Thielen, Rice, Dell, Gabe Davis, Hawkinson. Should I make any moves or trades? Thanks. Thank you, my friend. Honestly, great team. Elite level RBs. Great wide receivers at the very top. The only thing I'd say is like when you're looking at a team that is this deep, guys like Rice, Dell, Gabe Davis are never going to make a difference for us. So any chance that we get after a spike week from one of these guys to go through and send them maybe with someone like Dameon Pierce to go get a running back that we are fine with in the long term, that would be a move that we are looking to make. So, yeah, I mean, if you could go through, if you could sell, I mean, this week it would be Dell, right? Last week was the time to sell Gabe Davis. This week, if we're looking to sell someone there, it would be Dell. Taylor says, 10-team BBR. We have Herbert, Hill, Amon-Ra, Godwin, Kamara, Etienne, Stevenson, White, Hawkinson, Dotson, Taysom, Reynolds. I'm 8-1. What moves can we make to win the ship? So we have the elite level wide receivers, the elite level RBs. We have a quarterback and tight end combo that we're excited about. This is a great team. Let's say cut Reynolds and go pick up someone else off the waiver wire that has a slightly higher ceiling. If you wanted to take advantage of some of these running back pops, like if you wanted to see if we could send Ramondre and Amon-Ra to go get Chase, or White and Herbert to go get an upgrade at quarterback to go get to a top 4 QB, that's something you could do as well. Now, Cheat Chunk says, have BBR 6 and 3 flex 1. Downs, Hunt, Watson, and Ingram. Ooh. If Downs is good to go, we go Downs. If not, I have no freaking idea. I think we have to monitor the injury reports, honestly, with both Downs and Watson. Can't play Hunt this week against Baltimore. If Downs and Watson are both banged up going into the week, we will break our rule, and I guess we will start a tight end in the flex. But Cali Jack, happy to see us to start 1, Taysom Ferguson. If it is a, no, we're not flexing 1 over Olave Thielen. Please play both Olave and Thielen. If it is a non-PBR format where we're just chasing touchdown upside, I think we're going to go Taysom Hill. If it's a full PBR league, we have the target share from week to week perspective where I think we could feel fine just going through and plug and play in Jake Ferguson. Omega Les Paul, always happy to see you. Let me go ahead and make you a moderator on the channel. Don't have to do anything if you don't want to. But if you see someone copying and pasting the same message over and over again in the live chat, you can tell them knock it out. And if they don't, you can hit put user in timeout. But saying 7-2, 10-team at BBR, 3 receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. Got offered Waddle for any of my running backs, but Mostert, Jeff Wilson Jr. We have JT, Pollard, Brees, Mostert, Kyron, Jeff Wilson Jr. So essentially, if we were to make the trade, we would sell Kyron for Waddle. We have Lamb, Amari, Flowers, Rice, Myers. Make a trade, I'm guessing hold. It is interesting with this being a 3 wide receiver league. Obviously, wide receivers are going to get a slight premium here. Now, if you're looking at what we have with the values of these guys, just in the community rankings here for community values, you have Waddle at 28, whereas you have Kyron down there at 51. So, I mean, this is saying to go ahead and make this deal relatively easily. And I'd say at the same time, when we have that kind of running back depth, and it's a league where you have to start 3 wide receivers on a week-to-week perspective, I probably do go ahead and make that move. Let's move this over. Now, Jonas says 10-team, Burrow, Bijan, Brees, Chase, Olave, Wilson, James Conner, Kirk, Herbert, Charbonnet, 7-2, any moves? Also, how are we feeling about James Conner? #vlog. Appreciate you, my friend. I mean, I actually talk about James Conner in the buy low video coming out tomorrow. I think the Cardinals offense will be much better going forward with Kyler. And I think this is someone that does step into a role where he sees, I mean, about 12 to 16 touches every single week. And I know this is very boring, and I'm sorry about it, but honestly, I think that we are in a very comfortable position. I think we just have to wait until we get these healthy running backs coming back in. Then we have that running back depth bolstered. But I mean, we're sitting here with 7-2, and we had the Joe Burrow injury earlier in the season. It's a phenomenal team. Now, Momo says, rival week, got to beat high school buddy. Hell yes. 12-team PBR, Purdy, Hall, Kamara, Lamb, Ayuk, Komet, White, Dell. And then on the bench, Tua, Hill, Swift, McBride. 7-2, strong season, but this week is personal. Appreciate all you do for us. No, thank you so much, my man. So, operating under the assumption, yeah, this is a league where we start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. We are, dear God, letting our buddy off the hook. We have Tua, Tyreek, and DeAndre Swift on bye. I would shoot him a message and just go, hey, man, just let you know, I'm going to beat you, and I'm at 70% strength this week. I mean, in terms of any moves that we could realistically make, I don't really see any, to be honest. If you really wanted to beat him this week, and it actually meant a lot to you, especially when we have this kind of depth, if you wanted to see if you could sell like a wide receiver depth piece like Tank Dell and Tua and go get a quarterback that you're very excited about both in the long term, but also this week that's not on bye, maybe sell like Tank Dell and Tua and go get someone like Lamar, right? I think that could make sense in that obviously we kicked the can down the road for the bye week, so it doesn't really have too much of a long-term impact on the amount of games that we're getting out of said quarterback. We're going to have to deal with the bye week later on in the year, but if it really means a lot to you to win this week. Jason says Burrow and Puka versus Achane and Evans, who wins? Probably going to go Burrow and Puka. Seabass says, do we start Lawrence or Sam Howell? So Sam Howell is fully on his 2019 Jameis Winston tear, right? I mean, I think it's safe to call at this point that to be what Sam Howell's doing. You're going up against Seattle's 6-point dogs. Obviously, you're going to throw the ball a ton. I honestly probably would rather have Lawrence. And that if you're looking at over-unders this week, according to Vegas Sportsbooks, actually, no, never mind. I mixed that up. You don't have Lawrence playing. For a second, I was thinking that you had Lawrence playing Detroit, but that is, no, Justin Herbert. Who are the Jags playing in? Oh, yeah, the Jags are playing the 49ers. Never mind. Honestly, we may have to go Sam Howell. I think we have to go Sam Howell against Seattle rather than Lawrence against San Fran. That's tough, though. Now, Steven says, we have Stevenson, Gus, Warren, Foreman, Chase, DJ Moore, Amon-Ra. He has Henry, Barkley, White, Debo, Deontay, Pickens. He wants Chase, Gus, or Amon-Ra Stevenson for any RB wide receiver combo. Do you see any combo worth it? Okay. So Chase and Gus, we need the best player on his team. The best player on his team is Barkley. No, nothing's worth it there. Amon-Ra Stevenson. If you really wanted to give us both Barkley and Derrick Henry, we could possibly make the Amon-Ra St. Brown deal. There's just absolutely no reason to do the Jamar Chase one now that we have Joe Burrow fully healthy. Now, Prohibit says 10-team BBR 5-4. We have Allen, Diggs, Amon-Ra, Achane, Brees, Hawkinson, Pickens, Warren, Jefferson, Moss, Dell, Boyd. Any more moves we should look to make? Not necessarily. I mean, we really need Jefferson back for this team. I think it's a good team as long as we get Jefferson and Achane back in. Until that happens and we're like stuck having to go through and start someone like George Pickens, it is a tough spot to be in. Andrew says, I'm 6-3 and in third place. It's a 12-team at BBR single flex. Any moves? Lamar, Lamb, Kupp, St. Brown, Kamara, Stevenson, Taysom, Debo. And then on the bench, Javonte, Achane, Lockett, and Logan Thomas. So we do have a considerable amount of running back depth here where what I would look to do is I'd look to take the spike week that we get from Ramondre Stevenson. And if you could send like Ramondre Stevenson and Taysom Hill and go get to someone like Sam Laporta, go get to someone like Mark Andrews, I think that'd make a lot of sense when we're about to get Devon Achane coming back in. Now, 20 says start James Cook or Gabe Davis in the flex this week. Brutal. If Fournette plays, I think it's close enough to you. If you have no Leonard Fournette, then it's going to be easily Gabe Davis. Sorry, if you have no Leonard Fournette, I apologize. It's easily James Cook. The issue is it's a really good matchup for the running back going up against Denver. Jason says 12-team BBR. We have Hurts, Kamara, JT, Chase, Thielen, Hawkinson, Montgomery. And then on the bench, Kyler, Waddle, Judy, Tank, Downs, Rasheed, Henderson, Kyron. Any moves? Phenomenal team. If you really wanted to see if we could sell like TJ Hawkinson and Kyler and go, I mean, if you can get Kelsey, that's obviously a no-brainer. The issue is like we don't even want to be, we don't really need to be trading for a wide receiver or a running back with Kyler, right? Is I mean, even though we have Jalen Hurts at the same time, I mean, down on our bench, we have Kyron Williams and Jalen Waddle. So this is a team with a tremendous amount of depth. So, yeah, I mean, if you could pivot from like Hawkinson with Kyler, if that Kelsey team needed a QB, I think that could potentially make sense. Now, Bubba Eats says 5-4, 10-team single flex. We have Goff, Dak, JT, Walker, Diggs, Higgins, Debo, Laporta, Rice, JSN, Spears, McBride, Jefferson on the IR. Any moves? Should we sell Walker next week? If you are going to look to sell Walker, it will be next week after the Washington game. Obviously, can't sell him now. And then honestly, in terms of trades, nothing stands out too much. If you could find a very reasonable price tag, like if we can sell JSN and Dak, or like Rice and Dak, if someone's like all in on this Dallas Cowboys offense going forward, and we could possibly pivot over to a top 4 QB, I think that would make a lot of sense. Scott says, you think Bijan and Walker are good rest of season, or do we make a move? I think Bijan's fine rest of season with Kenneth Walker. Schedule's very tough, but if you were to sell him, you'd have to wait till next week. Can't do it this week. Yanks fan says flex Samuel, Schultz, Taysom, Moss, or JSN. We got to pick 2. We're going to go JSN and Dalton Schultz. Chase Man says offered Swift for Jonathan Taylor. Offer stands after the bye. I would rather have Jonathan Taylor over DeAndre Swift, my friend. Cole Kelly, always happy to see us, says 10-team BBR, 5-4. We have Herbert, Bijan, JT, Chase, Keenan, Lamb, Kelsey. And then on the bench, we have Pittman, Smith, Higgins, Deontay, Lockett. Any ideas? Don't love the running back situation. I mean, when you have Pittman, Smith, Higgins, Deontay, Lockett all on the bench, the easy thing to do is say, let's go and let's sell some of these wide receiver depth pieces and go get a running back upgrade elsewhere, right? So if you really wanted to take Pittman and Bijan and go get a running back upgrade, do it. If you really wanted to take Smith and JT and go get a running back upgrade, do it. It just really does come down to the price point that we would get. But I mean, obviously, we have the expendable wide receiver depth to get the deal done. Now, Fragger Andrew says 12-team full BBR 3-6. We have Herbert, Kamara, Stevenson, Olave, Lamb, Brown, Hunt, Ingram. And then on the bench, Samuel, Watson, Otten, Love, Algier. Any trade ideas? I don't necessarily have any trade ideas with this team. I do want to say that I think this is a team that probably should be prioritizing a little more running back and wide receiver upside down there on the bench rather than spinning the roster spots on the backup QB and the backup tight ends. Like, we're never starting Cade Otton over Evan Ingram outside of an injury. We're never starting Jordan Love over Justin Herbert outside of an injury. So what I would personally look to do is I would honestly look to cut the backup quarterback. I'd look to cut the backup tight end, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. And instead go out there and see if we can just roster some more running backs, wide receivers that we like the upside of down below. Sorry, off waivers. Now, Mark, always happy to see us, says, should I trade Pittman for Pollard? Hell yes. My receivers are Lamb, Pittman, Debo, Godwin, Johnson, Judy. My running backs are Mixon, Pacheco, Stevenson. Great show. If y'all don't know, Mark has been with us forever now. And yes, I would do this. I mean, if you are going to make a trade for Pollard, it's probably going to have to be now, right? Before the Giants game, after the Giants game. I don't necessarily know if it's going to be possible. And I drafted Pittman everywhere this year. He's my 3rd most drafted receiver in underdog drafts. But, I mean, yeah, being able to pivot over to Tony Pollard, I think makes a lot of sense. Good offense, seeing every single touch out of this backfield. I didn't draft a lot of Tony Pollard this year, but to be honest with you, if you would have told me that this would have been his workload, I probably would have drafted a ton of him. Marks the same Mason 6-3, 12-team PBR double flex. We have Tua, Etienne, Hall, Chase, Cup, Kelsey, Waddle, Rice, and then on the bench, Watson, Singletary, Roshan, Jefferson, HN. Any moves to make / any thoughts? Obviously, we really have to wait till we get Jefferson back in. Once we get Jefferson back in, I think it's a very well-balanced team, right? I mean, the team doesn't have a lot of depth, and I'm sure that it's struggling maybe right now, having to go through and start guys like Rashee Rice, especially with being a 12-team double flex format. But honestly, good team. The only thing is we just need to be patient until we get Jefferson and HN back in. Now, JMS, let's give Mostert, London for Jefferson. Jefferson's going to be in a much worse spot with the Cousins injury, but I'd still rather have Jefferson here. Now, Lone Legacy, longtime member of the Flocks, is happy to be our 10-team league. We have Stroud, Fields, AJ, Amon-Ra, Hollywood, Dell, JSN, Taylor, Mixon, Gibbs, White, Goddard. Any trade ideas? We have to go 3, 2, 1, and 1. So we're going to be starting AJ, Amon-Ra, wide receiver, then probably Hollywood in that third slot. Running back, we're going to go Taylor, Mixon. We're going to go Gibbs in the flex. If you really wanted to go through and see if we could send like CJ Stroud and Rachaad White and get an elite level tight end, go get someone like Mark Andrews. Now that we have the Dallas Goedert injury, it's a move that we could afford to go out there and make if we are going to get Justin Fields back this week. I would probably wait to just see if we have some more updates regarding Justin Fields and like if he actually will be good to go. Now, John says 12-team PPR, 4 and 5. We have Mahomes, Ramondre, Montgomery, Amon-Ra, Laporta, Amari, Metcalf, Flowers, Foreman, Warren, Reed, McBride. Any trade ideas? Okay. Very well-balanced roster where you're not having to do anything. The issue is we don't really have that wide receiver depth piece like dangle like that carrot, right? I mean, if I was looking at a sell-high guy on this list, it would be Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, nothing really changed with Ramondre this week. I mean, his workload remained exactly what it had been. The only difference that we had with Ramondre Stevenson was this is a running back that went out there and played a great matchup against Washington and had a big, long run. So if you wanted to pivot off and sell high on Ramondre Stevenson, that could be something we look to do. Probably be tough without being able to add a wide receiver to him, which I don't see one that we can. Now, Karan says, have Laporta and Kelsey. Is Laporta for forward worth it? Two things. One, we would 100% should be looking to sell Sam Laporta if we have Travis Kelsey. Two, you need to be charging a much higher price tag on Sam Laporta. Current roster is Lamar, Bijan, Kamara, Javonte, A.J. Brown, Ayuk, T, Ridley, Dell, Dotson. So here's what you can do when you're going through and looking at trades like this, my friend, and trying to find something that can be realistic, is just go to the community rankings on flockfantasy.com. This is going to be free for you. Literally, all you do is just type in flockfantasy.com. You're going to be put with the post page immediately. Then click the rankings tab. Go to 2023. It will prompt you with 4 guys that you rank. This is going to help contribute to the rest of season rankings here. We're going to go ahead and rank these guys how we would have them. But then you should have access to the community rankings for completely free. And if you're looking to go through and sell Sam Laporta and say you want a running back in return, what you do is you go ahead and you just click running backs and tight ends, because obviously Laporta is a tight ends. You're going to see where Sam Laporta is ranked. Sam Laporta years at 44 overall. So we'll look at running backs that are in the range of Sam Laporta. So if you were looking to go out there and make a trade for a running back, you would, instead of looking at Jahmyr Gibbs, be looking at guys like Bijan Robinson, Aaron Jones, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Kenneth Walker. So yeah, that would be a much easier way to figure out about the range that you should be looking to trade for, my friend. Yeah, I like the idea if we have Kelsey. Just need way, way more. Now, Steve says, traded more for Waddle and got offered Devonta Smith for Devontae Adams. Do we do it? Great deal for Waddle, and I probably would rather have Adams over Smith. One thing to consider with Smith, though, is maybe the injury to Dallas Goedert does bump up Devonta Smith in the long run. Joseph says, 12-team BBR trade Ayuk for Kupp. Yes, I would, especially with Debo coming back. Current rosters: Lamar, Kamara, Javonte, A.J. Brown, Ayuk, T, Ridley, Dell, Dotson, Hunt, Kyler, Kincaid, and McBride. A great team. And then honestly, after this, I don't necessarily know if there are too many things that we're looking to do. Would be interesting to see the price point that we could get on Kyler having Lamar. Now, Zarib says 10-team non-PBR trade Goddard, Swift for Hawkinson and Kyron. So Goddard, no value at this point. Swift versus Hawkinson and Kyron. Yeah, I think you can go through and make that move if you want. I mean, I have a ton of Goddard. I literally, I know it doesn't sound legit. I mean, it doesn't sound like it should be a big deal. But the Dallas Goedert injury really hurts me, to be honest with you. Ty says, traded Love and Dobbins for Johnston in a second. We have 2 2023 first and 3 2023 seconds. Planning on getting Marvin Harrison Jr. and Brock Bowers. So I understand it's obviously very fun looking ahead to the 2024 class. And I agree, yeah, these players are great. All I would encourage you to do is please don't be penciling in anybody into your rookie pick right now. While we can have a general idea, don't say, like, the last thing you want to do is in November of 2023, say in May of 2024, when we will have significantly more information at our disposal. I know what I'm doing already in November. No, you don't. Please, please, please do not plan on that. I mean, you can kind of plan on it, but do not hold yourself to that. Just say, oh, I have these picks and I know these are about the guys in the range and I'm excited about them. And let's see how it plays out. Starters are Burrow, Hall, Walker, Addison. No, we're not. I'm not playing this game, my man. I'm not playing this game. I'm fine with making the trade, right? But just going back to what we were talking about previously, I played Dynasty since 2014. And trust me, the reason I'm like very adamant about this is because this is exactly what I used to do. It's what's fun to do, right? It's fun to go out there and try to map out exactly how our season's going to go, exactly how our team's going to be a year from now. Do not be penciling in just Brock Bowers and Marvin Harrison Jr. to be on your team right now. We have future picks. We can have an idea of what we are looking at. But the last thing we are doing is trading for team need in 2024 in November of 2023. That's the last thing you should care about. The only thing you should care about is long-term value, and we can figure out our starting lineup 10 months from now. Now, Metro Boomin says 10-team full BBR 7-2. We have Lawrence, Kyler, Hall, H.N. Spears, Chuba, A.J. Puka, Addison, DK Lockett, Pop, T, and Kelsey. 8-game winning streak. Any suggestions for rest of season? Nobody wants SH wide receivers. Don't know exactly what that means. Second-hand wide receivers, maybe? I don't know. But if we are looking at this team, strong team overall, I mean, I think, honestly, it's going to be much better now that we get Achane back in. The only thing I'd say is I'd probably prioritize running back depth a little bit more than wide receiver depth here. So I'd probably drop Douglas and go pick up a running back off the waiver wire if there's a running back that you do like that possibly has some upside. But yeah, that would really be the only thing I'm looking to do. Now, Reed, happy to see it, says, Mason, 10T BBR 3-6. Started out 0-5, though. Hell yeah. We have Burrow, Gibbs, Williams, Lamb, Deontay, Kelsey. Pick Addison, Hunt, Cooks, Ferguson, or Taysom for the week. We're going to go with Addison here, my friend. And then, is it worth the trade for a running back with either Mixon or Pollard? We don't have a lot of depth to make the deal. So if you could sell Ferguson and Gibbs to go get Mixon or Pollard, let's do it. If you could sell Kareem Hunt with Javonte to go get Mixon or Pollard, let's do it. I would just imagine that, honestly, we probably don't have enough firepower to get it done. But yeah, and then we're going to go Addison for the flex. Eric says, what's up, Mason? 3-6, 10-team double flex, full BBR, and in need of some wins now. What are some ideal trade targets for Puka on bye? Starting Lawrence, Bijan, Hall, Diggs, Ridley, Hawkinson, Javonte, London, and Kirk. I don't necessarily know if we should be trading. I don't know if we should be trading to have a bye week fill in, right? I mean, we are starting Diggs, Ridley. We're going to be okay. If you really wanted to send maybe like Puka, and no, it's a double flex league as well. If you wanted to pivot off Puka for someone that's already through his bye, like if you wanted to go through and send Puka, say, and get back like T. Higgins, if you're saying you really need a win right now and you can't deal with a player on his bye week, I think that could be a move that you look to make. Now, Allen says trade Gibbs and Kirk or Tank for Hall and Devonta Smith. Yes, I would trade. And honestly, it doesn't matter the receiver. Yes, I'd make that deal. And then just keep whatever wide receiver you prefer. 20 says, is Bijan the best buy low candidate right now? Have to think he'll take full control of the backfield eventually, and his playoff schedule is so juicy. I think Bijan is a good buy candidate if we can get him as a mid RB2. If we have to pay for him as a mid RB1, I can no longer say that we should continue to pay that price tag. But yes, if you can buy Bijan Robinson as a mid RB2 with the consistent volume that he's had, with him being a rookie and probably only getting better, even though Arthur Smith is someone that I despise, I would say yes. Now, Saram says 4 and 5, 12-team PPR shallow league. We have Hurts, Hall, Bijan Hunt, A.J. Freeman, A.J. Brown, Amari, Jason, Gabe, Dobbs, McBride. Any trades? Amari and Hunt for Waddle or Devontae after the Week 10 bye, or do you suggest any other moves? I actually think that's a trade that we would like making. The issue is, I don't necessarily know if we're going to be able to make it next week. Like, I think that obviously we have Amari and Kareem Hunt riding high. You have the Cleveland Browns with a bottom 3 implied team total against the Ravens this week. Nothing against the Browns offense. I'm assuming Vegas sportsbooks are just pricing that in because obviously it is a very tough matchup going up against Baltimore. So if you were to make a move like this, it probably has to be sooner rather than later, to be honest. But especially as we get Devon Achane back in, I think that is a move that we can afford to make. Because once we have Achane back in as our RB3, then obviously Kareem Hunt's depth becomes significantly more expendable. But yeah, I think it's a great team here, my friend. Now, Callie Jack says, one more Mason, Etienne, Madison, Achane, waited out / any trades. We're going to go Etienne, Madison this week. Obviously, Etienne, Achane, rest of season. And honestly, then we just waited out. I think you'll have Alexander Madison in a much better spot now that you have no Cam Akers sharing the backfield, right? And even if Alexander Madison is not someone that we're super excited about, at the same time, this is a running back that is going to get every single touch. Saram says, same team as the first question. With the bye week, who to pick up a quarterback between Purdy, Geno, Levis, or Dobbs? I honestly may go Geno given the matchup against Washington. Should we try to pick up Taysom or Jonnu? I'm going to go Taysom over Jonnu. And then pick 3 to start between Gabe, JSN, Amari, Hunt, and Dobbs. And that's Romeo Dobbs. We're going to go Amari, JSN, and Gabe Davis under the assumption that, yes, I believe this is a PPR format. Yeah, so we're going to go with the receivers. And then quarterback will be really close. Joshua Dobbs does have rushing upside, and he is in a great situation, which is why I am a fan of Dobbs here. But Geno also is a beautiful matchup going up against Washington. And right now, Vegas Sportsbooks have the Seattle Seahawks as a top 4 offense in the NFL this week. Now, Austin says, should we trade Swift for Lamar? We have Etienne, Eckler, Mostert, Chuba. Current quarterbacks, Lawrence. Record 7-2 in a 10-team league. I would rather sell Mostert and Lawrence. Instead of selling Swift, let's see if we can sell Mostert and Lawrence. It is a fine deal if you really wanted to make it. I just try to get a better price. Now, Mr. Lamb Jam says, I traded Ridley and Gus for Achane. Really like it. Happy BR format. We have Hurts, Diggs, Ayuk, Hall, Swift, Goddard, Ferguson, Mitchell. How do we do on the deal? This week's going to be a grind, currently 7-2. Yeah, I mean, obviously, a ton of players on bye this week, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. We're 7-2. We're going to be good to go long term. And yeah, I really do like this trade. I mean, with Gus Edwards, he keeps on getting there every single week. But at the same time, if you are projecting this out rest of season, this is a running back that is going to split the backfield with 2 other guys. That's not going to have any receiving role whatsoever. So it's just completely live or die by touchdowns. And he's been living by the touchdowns as of late. But obviously that is volatile and hard to project going forward. Now, Eternal says, who to write out as a backup quarterback, Kyler or Justin Fields? I think both guys would be fine. I'd probably go Fields because I'm a little bit more comfortable with him going out. With projecting him to go out there and run the ball compared to Kyler. Juan says 5-4, 9-team single flex PPR league. We have Goff, CMC, Pierce, Adams, Metcalf, Hawkinson, Palmer, Kyron. We need some help. 9-team league, I just simply don't think we're going to get by having Jared Goff at quarterback. But the issue is, like, where's the value? Honestly, I'm sorry, my friend. I would love to go out there and make a trade and get an upgrade over Jared Goff. In reality, much, much easier said than done, because you look at this team, there's not much depth. And honestly, I think really the only thing that this team can be doing at this point is going through and picking up some options off the waiver wire and trying to churn off waivers. Now, Chris says, what's up, my man? In first place at 8-1. It's a 12-team PPR single flex. We have Lamar, Etienne, Cook, Hill, St. Brown, Andrews, Ayuk, Collins, Warren, Spears, Taysom, Chuba Hubbard, Devin Singletary, Kyler Murray. Looking to win it all this year. Any moves? So we have the Lamar Andrews stack. Really excited about that. We have, honestly, great team. I mean, the only thing I'd say is if you wanted to take advantage of the pop-in value that we've had from Brandon Ayuk with no Deebo Samuel, or the pop-in value that we've had with Nico Collins with this offense just being absolutely absurd, and possibly trade one of the wide receivers, and Kyler Murray, and go get a significant upgrade at wide receiver, I think that could be something we look to do with Lamar. I mean, keep in mind, yeah, Lamar is not already through his bye week, but we are 7-1. Worst case scenario, we go pick up a quarterback for Lamar's bye, and even if we lose, we're 7-2, you know, or, I mean, sorry, we're 8-1. So we're 8-2, you know what I mean? But yeah, I would love that long term. But Matt says, should I trade Eckler for Gibbs and Olave? This guy also has Tyreek and CMC. Feel like I know the answer, but wanted to run it by you, Mason. Appreciate you, my friend. Dynasty, it's going to be easily Gibbs and Olave. Redraft, though, just your regular fantasy football league. I think we're going to keep the best player, keep Eckler, especially with Eckler already through his bye as well. Now, Logbart says traded Morton Williams for Pollard and Puka. Love that deal, my friend. Love that trade. Jovi says Bijan Stroud for Jonathan Taylor. If we have Lamar Jackson, yes, let's go ahead and let's get JT there, my man. Now, Llama Guy says, Dynasty, should I trade Wan'Dale for Quentin Johnson? Got the offer. I am not going to be running out there and screaming for everybody to buy low on Quentin Johnston. But yes, at this price point, we would. Toon says, do we panic on Kamara losing snaps? With Kamara, I just want to reiterate what we've said for a while now. This is someone that we are excited about in a full BBR format. Really have no reason. Not too excited in non-PPR leagues. So I do think that it's just going to be up to you there, my friend. I mean, it depends on what your format is. I know if you look at the Snapchat, it's not Snapchat, Snap chart, it is just going straight down. And should we trade Cup for Jefferson? I'd probably rather have issue with Jefferson. His offense is going to be so bad. We also have Kyler or Lawrence. I'm going to go Cup over Jefferson. We're going to get more games out of Cup rest of season. And then between Kyler and Lawrence, I think you have the floor with Lawrence, the ceiling with Kyler. 6-point passing touchdown format. Give me Lawrence. 4-point passing touchdown lead. Give me Kyler with the rushing upside. Now, Chris says, second team, 12-team BBR single flex. 4-5 record. We have Lawrence, Kyler, Bijan, Kamara, Adams, Olave, Hawkinson, and Waddle. And then we have Lockett, Moss, Roshan, Cooks, Samuel. Did some trades to get Adams and Olave. Any additional moves? Not necessarily double flex league. This is going to be a spot where we are more so looking to build around the wide receiver depth, right? Where you can't start 4 wide receivers from a week-to-week perspective. And with it being a full PBR format, we probably want to start those 4 wide receivers. So honestly, I think you're in a really good spot here going forward, my friend. Now, AJ says, first place went 0 RB and traded for Chase mid-year. Any ideas to upgrade the running back room? We have Lamar, Swift, Chuba, Lamb, Chase, Andrews, St. Brown. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Obviously, any opportunity we get to sell someone like JSN, sell someone like London, sell someone like Dotson, and package them with a player like Chuba Hubbard and go get an upgrade at running back, I'd really like to make that move. You've absolutely crushed a 0 RB build, and I just want to make sure, I know we don't see the bottom end of this bench here. I just want to make sure that we are going through and we are rostering as many running backs as we possibly can. Legend says I traded Ramadre to Achane for Pollard and Hunts. Give me Pollard over Achane. Give me Ramondre over Hunt. It's an okay deal. Okay deal. I think it's up to you. Now, LeVar Ball says 10-team PPR 4 and 5. We have Howell, Kyler, Diggs, Higgins, Olave, Ridley, Etienne, Achane, Mixon, Pollard, Schultz, Downs, Brian Robinson, Hubbard, any traits. So it's a team that's phenomenal at running back, right? And we have Etienne, Achane, Mixon, Pollard at the very top. So I would say as we go down to the very bottom end of the bench and we look at someone like Chuba Hubbard, look at someone like Brian Robinson, these guys that are startable, but we would just never need them in our specific situation. I think it would make a lot of sense to see if we could go through and if we could extract some of this value out of these players from a team that maybe needs that running back starter in the short term by going through and maybe sending like Chuba Hubbard and I don't know, T. Higgins to go get a wide receiver upgrade, or say sending Brian Robinson and Kyler Murray to go get a quarterback you're a little bit more excited about. If we're looking to extract any value of, or maybe with Dalton Schultz and go get a tight end upgrade, you know, if we're looking to extract any value, I think those are going to be the guys. Jay says just traded Saquon and James Cook for Jonathan Taylor and Gibson. What are your thoughts? Also, should I trade Higgins and an RB3 for Tony Pollard in a full PPR format? Okay. Saquon to JT, big time upgrade. Cook to Gibson, who cares? I like it. Also, should we trade Higgins and an RB3 for Pollard? If it's like Antonio Gibson, then yeah. I mean, it depends on your definition of an RB3, but I would rather have Pollard over Higgins. Legend says 6-3 full BBR. Jacobs, Pollard to start. Should we trade Kyron? Can't trade Kyron right now. Value kind of at an all-time low. I think we're going to have to wait till he gets back. John says we have the number one waiver wire claim. We have Watson and Kyler at quarterback. Do we pick up Dak? Yeah, I think I'd drop Watson for Dak. Christopher says received an offer. Adams, Higgins for Chase. We're going to keep Chase here. I don't think it's too close. Magavelli, happy to see, says full BBR. Would you rather have TJ or Andrews rest of season? For sure going to have Andrews, especially when Jefferson comes back. And I drafted way more TJ Hawkinson than Mark Andrews this year. I hope I'm wrong. Laylo says panicking Bijan owner. Should I target JT or Hall? You can try for either or. You're probably going to get rejected on both fronts, though. I'd rather have JT over Hall. I'd imagine you get rejected regardless. Naheem says 10-team full BBR super flex. 4 and 5. We have Geno, CMC, Lawrence, Henry, DK, Thielen, Higgins, Goddard, Nico, Ridley, and then on the bench, London, Connor, Fournette, Kyler. We need a tight end between Taysom, Jonnu, McBride. We're going to go with Taysom. And then great team. I mean, overall, this is a spot where we just really need Kyler Murray back, right? If we get Kyler Murray back and we can go through and slide him in a QB2, this will be a team that we are in a much better situation going forward. I think a big reason why we are 4 and 5 is because that quarterback play that we had at the beginning of the year. Now, Anthony says, enjoy the show. Thank you. 7-2, 10-team PPR. We have Dak, Ford, Hall, Lamb, Thielen, Laporta, Pittman. And then on the bench, Hurts, Ferguson, Ridley, Brian Robinson, Pickens, Downs, Jefferson on the IR, any trades, and should we upgrade at running back? I mean, I would love to upgrade a running back. Obviously, I'm not pumped to start Jerome Ford from a week-to-week perspective. I think that what you could look to do, and I know this kind of sucks because we have, Jalen Hurts on the bye right now, but if you could sell maybe Dak Prescott and Jerome Ford and go get a significant upgrade at running back, that'd be something we probably look to do. And then just go through and stream the quarterback position this week. We have a lot of flexibility that we are 7-2, right? So, I mean, even if worst case scenario, by streaming the QB position this week before Jalen Hurts returns, we lose, then worst case scenario, we're 7-3. That may not even be the case, right? So I think that would be interesting. And then obviously I'd be willing to throw in like Pickens as a throw-in to that deal. I mean, Pickens was that guy we were saying to sell high on a few weeks back. Now, Shamil, happy to see us, says 10-team PPR. We have Jacobs, Montgomery, Bijan. Is it bad to trade Bijan for Jonathan Taylor? I would rather have JT over Bijan rest of season. Got offered Hollywood, Brian Robinson for DJ Moore. I'm 6-3. Bijan is killing me. DJ Moore versus Hollywood, Brian Robinson, up to you. But yeah, I think we go ahead. I think that we take Jonathan Taylor over Bijan Robinson rest of season. I mean, Jonathan Taylor just very comfortable position in that they are using him in the red zone. He is getting 75% of the snaps. Now, Dingy says, how do you rank these running backs rest of season? Saquon, Bijan, Walker, and Josh Jacobs. I would go Saquon, Jacobs, Bijan, Kenneth Walker. But they're all extremely close. While Saquon is number one, not super excited about it given how bad the offense is. Now, Gateway Lacrosse says, appreciate all your advice, Mando. Thank you. 10-team full PPR, 4-point passing touchdown format. Lawrence, Stroud, Walker, Hall, Diggs, Smith, Judy, JSN, Laporta. Any moves? And then Kenneth Walker for Devon Achane. I think most people would rather have Achane over Walker at this point. And not necessarily much here. I mean, this is just a team that obviously we are having to sit here and wait until we get Jefferson back in. Once we get Jefferson back in, I think we'll be in a much better spot. I mean, I would love to say, yeah, let's go sell Jerry Jeudy in a package with Trevor Lawrence or with CJ Stroud and go get an upgraded quarterback. It's just not realistic. Of course, at this point, we're getting nothing for Jeudy. Now, Miguel says 6-3, 12-team BBR double flex, 4-point passing touchdown league. We have Levis, Etienne, Eckler, Spears, Puka, Lamb, Deontay, Ayuk, JSN, Waddle, and then tight end Laporta, Taysom, Waddle for Allen. What are the moves? Or Waddle, Taysom for Allen. I would love to do that. Hell yes. Go make that trade right now. Yeah, I mean, especially if we already have Laporta through his bye, so Taysom doesn't make a difference for us. Let's trade Waddle. Let's send the depth wide receiver, which depth at the wide receiver position does make a big time difference here in this league. But I mean, if we are able to go out there and get someone like Josh Allen, that's a no-brainer. Gabriel Lacrosse does also have an offer, Stroud and Smith for Mahomes. If that is a 10-team league, we're going to start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. Let's go get Mahomes. Now, Johnny says 6-3, 12-team non-BBR single flex. We have Tua, Eckler, Hopkins, Addison, Hawkinson, Mixon, Cook, Watson, Sutton, Hunt, Rice, Foreman. Should we trade Walker and Hopkins for Diggs? Also, which 2 or 3 for Tyreek? Yes, I would trade Walker and Hopkins for Diggs. Keep in mind, non-PBR format, though, you give a bump up to the running back in Kenneth Walker, but we'd still do the deal. And then the issue is, once we make that deal for Diggs, like we don't have a ton of depth to be making a trade for Tyreek Hill. So to be honest with you, even if it's a league where you only have 1 flex spot, as we sit here, I mean, we would then at that point have Eckler, Mixon at running back, wide receiver, we would have Diggs, Addison, we had Hawkinson in the flex, and then Hawkinson at tight end, and then the flex, we're arguing between Sutton, Rice, Watson, so we're not super excited about our flex spot. So I'd say then at that point, we probably don't have enough depth to make an additional 2-for-1 deal to go out there and get an upgrade to Tyreek Hill, even if I'd really like to. Alex says, ideal wide receiver 1, RB1 targets for a Kincaid, Michael Pittman Jr. package or Kincaid and Pollard. So let's go ahead and let's pull up the community rankings on flogfantasy.com here just to get a realistic idea. So if you're looking at where you have Kincaid and Tony Pollard currently, in these overall rankings, you have Pollard sitting at, we'll refresh this just to make sure we have the most up-to-date version. You have Pollard sitting at 22. We have Kincaid sitting at 60. So we're probably going to be looking at these running backs in the mid-teens. So you're probably going to be looking at like Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, Austin Eckler. Like if you can get these RBs here, I think that'd make a lot of sense. And then in the case of the wide receiver, if you're going to be looking at, say, Pittman is sitting at 51, probably going up to the low 20s, high 30s. I think you're probably looking at like Waddle, Puka, Kupp. Yeah, so I think you'd be probably trying to get to someone like Cooper Kupp in that instance, my friend. But Ancient Production says 10-team full BBR double flex, 5-4. We have Burrow, Madison, Cook, Chase, AJ Brown, Andrews, Olave, Puka. And then on the bench, Hopkins, Boyd, Watson. General thoughts and how worried should I be running back wise? And do we need to upgrade? Okay. I would say we should be very worried about the Leonard Fournette addition. Now, the issue is, how do we upgrade? I think that the easiest way to do so and the most realistic way to do so is just saying, let's make sure we're rostering as many running backs as possible. That way we can hopefully hit on someone off waivers. So I think if you wanted to go out there and if you wanted to say, cut a low ceiling player like Tyler Boyd and go pick up a running back off the waiver wire, that could definitely be something that we look to do. On the other end of the spectrum, what we may end up if you can try, if you wanted to try to send like Hopkins and James Cook to go get a viable running back upgrade, you can go for it. It's just probably much easier said than done, right? Much easier said than done. Alfonso says, hey, Mace, Dobbs or Goff with Mahomes on the bye? We probably will go Goff. Goff is going to be in the highest scoring game of the week this week, or at least according to Las Vegas sportsbooks. With Dobbs, I like the rushing upside. I am rooting for the guy. I don't know if we can take him over Goff, though. Now, Shane says traded Gus and Flowers for Mostert. Guy's going to win now. Wait, so if it's a dynasty league, it's Flowers easily. If it's a redraft league, yeah, let's go get Mostert. You're saying win now. I think maybe you scared me a little bit. I want to make sure this isn't a dynasty league. Now, Connor says 12-team full BBR, 3-6, 3-game losing streak. We have Mahomes, Brees, Mixon, Cup, Olave, Laporta, Lockett, London, Judy, Downs, Henderson, Fournette. Any traits? Very well-balanced team. Honestly, not necessarily. I think we just want to continue to go through and turn the waiver wire down there at the very bottom. If you are looking at someone like Leonard Fournette, obviously this is a running back that does have upside, and just trying to roster as many of those running backs as possible, right? So hopefully we can find someone to pop for that flex. And now Miguel says Lamb and Ramondre for Eckler and Kyron. Give me Eckler over Lamb, Kyron versus Ramondre, up to you. And it's a very fair deal. I probably go Eckler, just knowing it's harder to find running back production. Now, Kashmir says Stroud or Burrow. Burrow, definitely. I have them both, but I don't know what to do. Stroud's fourth quarter points get ridiculous. And then I understand, my friend, but right now you do have the Bengals as 7-point favorites, right? So Vegas is telling us that the Bengals are easily going to score more points here. We have the longer track record with Burrow as well. I'm going to go Burrow relatively easily. Okay. Now, Sam says PBR team is Dak, Pollard, Montgomery, Keenan, Chase, Hawkinson, Olave, Addison, Collins, James Cook, Tajee, Rashee Rice, Aaron Jones, McBride. Got offered Kelsey for Pollard and Hawkinson. I'm 4-5 in 6th place. Do I accept? Definitely a very interesting deal. I generally love going out there and trading up for Travis Kelce. I don't care if we're maybe overpaying a bit. Now, with that being said, I think we are overpaying here for selling Pollard and Hawkinson. In a full BBR format, I would instead see if we can move off of like Montgomery and Hawkinson. I'd counter with Montgomery and Hawkinson instead of Pollard. Tilted Ibbo says, have BBR trade Etienne and Higgins for Chase and Gus. Yes, I think that Chase is by far and away the best player there. Rogout says, trade off for my Walker for Aaron Jones. Not sure. Non-PBR format, I probably want Walker. Full PBR league would be completely fine if you wanted to pivot over to Aaron Jones. Now, Doctor says 12-team non-PBR 4-5. We have Hurts, Pollard, Gus, Kirk, Sutton, Godwin. We have Dak and feel like I can trade Hurts for a receiver upgrade. Team with Levis as Amon-Ra, Pittman, Najee. What should we look to do? If you were going to go through and sell a quarterback, you sell Dak for Pittman or you sell Jalen Hurts for Amon-Ra St. Brown. The last thing that we want to do is go through and sell Jalen Hurts for Michael Pittman. Just don't do that. It's either Dak for Pittman or Jalen Hurts for St. Brown. Now, Austin says 10-team PBR single flex, 6-3. We have Mahomes, Diggs, Lamb, Puka, Collins, Flowers, Lockett, Eckler, JT, Brian Robinson, Pierce. Any moves to make for the long term? Okay. Very well-balanced team, and I honestly love this squad as is, my friend. I mean, I don't necessarily know who we have at tight end, so if you wanted to see if we can sell some of this wide receiver depth, like go sell Nico Collins and get a viable tight end that we're really excited about in the long term. That would be something I'm interested in. But I mean, honestly, there may be a league where you don't even have to start a tight end. So if that's the case, I think you're chilling. Now, Mostly says traded Godwin and Darrell Anderson for Montgomery. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think Darrell Anderson's a non-factor going forward. Sam says 8-1, 12-team BBR. Goddard team wants Kincaid. We have Hawkinson. Should I try to counter with Addison, Kincaid for Waddle? Honestly, I think we need more. He won't trade JT or CMC, even though I do need a running back. We also have Puka, Higgins, Moore, and JSN. I think I would rather try to trade JSN and Kincaid for Waddle. Like, the thing is, I 100% agree with you. We do want to be selling a tight end here when we have both Kincaid and Hawkinson. But the reason being is both these tight ends are top 5 tight ends rest of season. Like, we should be able to get a considerable amount of value for these guys, my man. See, I mean, I think we'd probably try to just keep Addison if we could. But, yeah, go get Waddle. Pack Fresh says trade Bijan for Taylor and Pollard for Swift. Give me Taylor over Bijan. Pollard versus Swift will be up to you. Now, Merchman says Stroud, Fields, Montgomery, Pacheco, Javonte, Achane, Chase, AJ Rice, Dale Ferguson. 14-team league. How can we get better? Love the show. Thank you so much, my friend. We're going to keep it stupid simple. In a 14-team league where people are going to be dying for some production at quarterback, if we could go through and go to like the team that's maybe stuck starting Will Levis right now and go, hey, I already have CJ Stroud through his bye week. We can start him every single week regardless. I'll give you Justin Fields. Give me a running back I'm very excited about. I think that could be a move that we look to make. We do have the expendable quarterback production here. But to be fair, you may want to wait until Fields is actually starting and we actually have that bump in value for him. But ladies and gentlemen, we are about 2 likes away from hitting 400 likes this live stream. I've tried to make it the 2 hours without asking y'all to hit that like button. I think we've done a good job. So please, if you have not done so already, go down there, hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. Help us get to 400. And of course, I mean, we live stream every single day. Today's day 194 in a row of live streaming. Not going to miss the day until 2024. So if you have not done so already, subscribe to the channel. Now, Austin says, forgot to add in Hawkinson. Oh, okay, so, I mean, if we have Hawkinson, maybe instead the deal's like maybe one of those wide receivers in Hawkinson, and we go get to a tight end like Travis Kelce. Now, Jacob says 10-team BBR, 2 receivers and a flex. We're 6-3. We have Hurts, Bijan, Walker, AJ Evans, Nico Andrews, Myers, Ridley, JT Stroud, McBride, Dotson, Hubbard. Who are we going to look to start? We're going to start Stroud at quarterback. Running back, we're going to be going with Bijan, Walker. Wide receiver, we're going to be going with Evans, Nico. For the flex, we'll go... Actually, no, I'm sorry. Running back, we're going to go JT Walker. And then we will move Bijan Robinson into the flex. So we're going to start JT, Bijan Walker, Evans, and Nico. And then at tight end, Andrews, and quarterback, we're going to go Stroud. Now, Landon says 14-team full BBR. I'm 4-5. We have Herbert, JT, Derrick Henry, T. Higgins, CeeDee Lamb, Ferguson, DK, Hollywood, AJ Dillon, Dermacado on the bench. Any trades or ideas to make the playoffs? Obviously, 14-team league. Depth's going to matter a lot more. So, honestly, it's incredibly impressive that we are 4-5 with both Jonathan Taylor and T. Higgins, giving us nothing at the beginning of the year. I think that this is going to be a team that is just naturally much better going forward, where in reality, I know it's very boring for you, and I know this is not what you're looking for, my man, but I think you're just sitting on your hands. I think you're going to be in a much better situation going forward. Now, Jack, always happy to see us, says 3-6. Do we trade Kyron and Zay for Deontay Johnson? Also, do we trade JT and Fields for ETN? If you have another viable quarterback that you are fine with, then yeah, we can do the second deal. And then Kyron and Zay for Deontay, no, I think we need more for Kyron and Zay. We're going to keep that combo. Now, Grant says, looking to make moves 4 and 5 in 5th place. We have Lawrence, Stroud, Goff, Taylor, Jacobs, Walker, Jefferson, Collins, Ayuk, Laporta, and Godwin. Very well-balanced team. Trying to come up with literally anything. Honestly, this team just has to wait till we get Jefferson back in. I would love to say, oh, Stroud's going to go rest of season. We can start him every week regardless of matchup. Let's sell Lawrence. The issue is you're just not really going to be getting much for Lawrence if you try to sell. Now, Dinky says, we have Saquon, Montgomery, Rashad White. Would it be worth trading Montgomery and DJ Moore to maybe get Bijan and Waddle? Bijan over Montgomery in my mind and Waddle over DJ Moore. So honestly, I would. I'm very biased. Hook 'em horns. Maybe you don't want to listen to me on that front. Not going to argue. I'm not going to fault you at all. But yeah, I probably go Bijan. Now, Vin says 12-team PPR, 3 receivers, single flex, 8-1. We have Dak, Love, ETN, Walker, Cook, Roshan, Lamb, Kupp, Puka, Higgins, Ayuk. Love the team. I mean, the only thing I would say, and it's very boring, is if you could pivot from like Taysom Hill and James Cook and go get a long-term upgrade at running back, that would be something that we are looking to do. The other thing is, if you wanted to go ahead, if you wanted to maybe send like, say, Kenneth Walker away from this team, you can't do it now, but maybe Kenneth Walker does get a massive spike week against Washington here. And then we could be looking to sell Kenneth Walker with the pop the week after. But we would have to wait until then. So honestly, I think that as of now, probably not much. We throw Taysom on the block and see if we can get anything for him. And then maybe next week we look to sell Walker. Scott says, we lost Kirk. We have Carr, Saquon, Ramondre, Pacheco, Olave, St. Brown, Kincaid, JSN, Godwin, Pickens, Pitts, Dobbs, Warren. Should we cut Pitts for Cade Otton? And then any trades, we're 4 and 5. I think Ramondre and Saquon are both guys that could be potential sell eyes. If you wanted to take Ramondre and Derek Carr, if you could pivot to a top 4 to 5 quarterback, I would look to do that. And then regarding Kyle Pitts versus Cade Otton, can everybody spam the chat? Who would you rather have rest of season? Would you rather have Kyle Pitts or Cade Otton? This is something that is just, hard to mentally map my brain around. We got 1 vote for Pitts. Isaiah says anyone but Pitts, so we're assuming he's taking Otton. A werewolf says Pitts. Pitts. So it looks like most people still would rather have Pitts over Cade Otton here, my friend. Obviously not super excited about him, though. Now, Andrew says last place in a 10-team AppBBR 5-player keeper league where we have Lawrence, Purdy, Kyler, Diggs, Higgins, Downs, Watson, Ingram, Achant, Hubbard, Algier, Forbin. Any moves? Do you think we should sell Diggs for a future first? So my specialty is Dynasty Fantasy Football. I love Dynasty. So I am really used to Dynasty leagues and keeper leagues. One thing that I find that people make the mistake of is treating their keeper leagues as if they are Dynasty. So typically I'd say in your keeper league, you're going to be fighting it out to the very end of the year as if it's just a redraft format. Now, with that being said, if you are in dead last place and we are in week 10, and if it's a 10-team league, say where you only have 4 teams making the playoffs, then yes, we probably should go ahead. And yes, we probably should Just start selling off these veteran assets for future picks. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, if instead 6 teams make the playoffs, I may keep battling it out, at least for another week. Now, Sebastian says 10-team BBR 5-4. Offer is Hurts, Keenan, Jefferson for Tua, Tyreek, Devonta Smith. So give me Keenan over Devonta Smith. Give me Hurts over Tua. And to get those 2 upgrades, we have to downgrade from Tyreek to Jefferson. The team is Tua, Jacobs, Etienne, Tyreek, Diggs, Laporta, Higgins, Ramondre, McBride. Ultimately, I think it's a very fair deal. I think it is going to be up to you. I think it comes down to what you're expecting with this Miami Dolphins stack going forward. If you're worried about how the Dolphins offense has looked in games where they're going up against actual tough opponents, then maybe make the move. If you have no concerns with Miami, I think you keep as is. Now, Brock says we have Tua, Aaron Jones, Montgomery, Jamar, St. Brown, Cup, Ingram, Rashee Rice, Hubbard, Kyron, JSN, Lawrence. Any traits? Love the wide receiver room. I mean, this is a phenomenal team. I don't necessarily have much. If you could sell like Rashee Rice and Aaron Jones or Rashee Rice and David Montgomery and go get a viable RB upgrade, makes a ton of sense where Rice has literally never hit your starting lineup here. But that'd be like the only thing that we could look to do. Rock out. Happy to see it. Says I'm 4-5. We have Burrow, Bijan, Walker, Charbonnet, Javonte, St. Brown, Olave, Ayuk, McLaurin, Dotson, JSN, and then Kincaid and Ferguson. Be much better now that we have Burrow fully healthy going forward. Javonte looks like he's actually someone that we can start. So I don't have much for you. The only thing I'd say is I probably would rather roster a few more running backs, not as many wide receivers. So if you wanted to go out there and possibly look to send off like Terry McLaurin and Zach Charbonnet and go get an upgrade at running back and then backfill with another running back there as well, could be something that we look to do. But very nice team. I mean, specifically in the starting lineup, the only thing I'd have is down there on the bench with the depth. But now Chief Reaver says, how BBR drop Dotson for Douglas as a depth piece? I'd probably rather have Dotson, to be honest with you. Now Riley says 12-team full BBR, rough year 3-6, but still in it. Blew up the team and traded Pollard, Bijan, Laporta, Stroud, Waddle, Nico. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'll say 9 times out of 10, my friend, whenever we see a message like this, you're doing too much and it's probably not a good deal. Well, let's see. We got back Kyler, Swift, Montgomery, Brees, Ingram, Olave, Higgins, and Hollywood. What are we thinking? So Pollard to Swift, lateral move, up to you. Let's take them out of the deal. Bijan to Montgomery, lateral move, up to you. Let's take him out of the deal. Stroud to Kyler, give me Stroud. Laporta to Evan Ingram, give me Laporta. Waddle versus Brees, give me Brees. Nico versus Olave, give me Olave. So essentially, we're making this deal to get the extra starters in Higgins and Hollywood Brown. I think that if this is a league with multiple flex spots where the depth is going to matter in getting guys in like Higgins and Hollywood, it's going to make a fundamental difference for us, then I'm okay with it. However, if it's a league where we're going to start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, there I'd probably be less excited. Augustin says Bijan and Olave for Jonathan Taylor. I would rather have Bijan and Olave. I drafted a lot more JT than Bijan this year. Of course, I'm still rooting for Bijan Hookem. But, yeah, I don't know. Now, Eddie says, hey, Mason, Stroud or Lamar? We're going to go Lamar. And then Schultz or Laporta, thanks. Thank you. We are going to go Laporta. I mean, obviously, the Texans looked great this past week. I do think they come back down to earth a bit. Daniel Abedisi says 3-6. Hurts, Jacobs, JT, Smith, Garrett, Kittle, Mostert, Hopkins. Should we give JT for Achane and Thielen? Hell no, keep JT. Give Hurts, Smith, Kittle for Dak and Lamb. Hurts to Lamb, slight upgrade. Smith and Kittle to Dak, big time downgrade. Honestly, no. I probably don't do either deal, my friend. I think we're going to be chilling as is. Isaiah says, are playoff rankings coming soon, my man? Yes, I was thinking I may get a... I know you're on flogfantasy.com, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put out a video on flogfantasy.com outlining the best and worst playoff ranking schedules. Now, Soul Assassin says, Tua on bye, Geno or Carr. We're going to go Geno. And then start Barkley, Etienne, Chase, Thielen, Smith, Stevenson, Moore, Hockenson, Schultz, Hunt. Should I start Hockenson or Schultz this week? We're going to go Hockenson, especially with no Jefferson. And then should we trade a wide receiver for a quarterback, Devonta Smith or Adam Thielen for Burrow or Kyler? Now, if you really wanted to go out there and trade a wide receiver for a quarterback, I'm not going to fault you in doing so. However, what I would say here is if you're going to be looking at what we have with specifically Tua on this team as is, we don't need a quarterback in the long term, right? So, like, if we're getting Joe Burrow in here, Burrow's a massive upgrade this week over Geno, but is he a massive, massive upgrade over what we should expect rest of season with Tua? Probably not. He's an upgrade, but it's not massive. So what I would rather do is if you were to sell one of those wide receivers, I'd rather package him with Tua and get to a top 3 quarterback and get to Jalen Hurts, get to Patrick Mahomes, get to Josh Allen. And then I don't know if we were submitting a starting lineup here. We're going to go Barkley, Etienne at running back, Chase, Thielen at wide receiver. And then for the flex, we will go ahead and we will probably play DJ Moore under the assumption it's a full PPR format. But since Moore plays on Thursday, remember, put him at wide receiver 2 and slide your wide receiver 2 down to your flex. Now, Titabo says, thanks, sir. What about Diggs for Amon-Ra and Aaron Jones? Much better price point if you are selling Stephon Diggs. I don't love it, but we can do it. Now, Kashmir says, wide receiver 1 and 2. Olave, Higgins, Thielen. Appreciate you saying my name correctly. Appreciate you. I hope you're not being sarcastic. I hope we said it correctly. I maybe did not. But if we are looking at Olave, Higgins, and Adam Thielen, I mean, Thielen does have a great matchup this week. With Olave, Higgins, I think that they're better players and better offenses. If you look at how I rank these wide receivers this week, I have Thielen wide receiver 6, Olave wide receiver 7, and Higgins wide receiver 8. So I have them ranked back to back to back, my friend. So honestly, the correct answer is I have no idea, and it's up to you. I'll probably change my mind 10 times until Sunday. Definitely play Adam Thielen here, and I probably bench Higgins. Now, VTech says, Diggs, Wilson, DK, Ayuk, Dell. Who are we starting in for the flex? We're going to start Diggs, Wilson, and then for the flex, we'll go DK. Good matchup against Washington. Now, Juan says, 5-4, 12-team double flex. We have Lawrence, Bijan, Pollard, Chase, Kupp, Hockenson, Hollywood, Gibbs. And then on the bench, we have Spears, JSN, Stroud, Douglas, McBride, Ridley. Any trade ideas trying to get Eckler? I love going for Eckler. I mean, these running backs think will be much better for us going forward. Since it's a double flex format, depth's going to matter significantly more. So honestly, I don't think that there is a deal that makes a lot of sense here, because what player has at least some name value, has some expendable value that we could be selling that we don't need? Calvin Ridley, right? Like, that's like the only guy with this team. Could we sell Calvin Ridley and Bijan and go get Eckler? Probably not. You can try if you want. But with it being a 12-team double flex format, I already really like your team as is. I probably keep as is, to be honest. Flock Soldier, Hookamords, my man. Full BBR. Who would you try to get for Bijan in a half BBR? And who would you try to get for Montgomery? I don't see any offers. I'll just keep. Honestly, I'm going to keep Bijan Robinson. If you could sell him and maybe get to, like Jonathan Taylor, we saw that earlier on. I'd be completely fine doing that. And looking to sell David Montgomery, I think you're going to be looking at like high-end RB2s, low-end RB1s. If you wanted to go through and sell maybe, say, and go get like Joe Mixon, go get Josh Jacobs, go get Tony Pollard, I think you could look to do that. And in San Diego, my friend, I'm jealous. I'd imagine that the weather there this winter will be much, much nicer than what we have in Austin. But Caleb says 4 and 5 PBR format. We have Kyler, Pollard, Kamara, Higgins, Gabe Davis, Everett, Montgomery. And then on the bench, Kupp, Puka, Hurts, Pacheco, Goddard, Shaheed. Who should we try to trade away and for who? I would say that we're going to be waiting a week. First off, cut Shaheed. Just cut Shaheed. Second off, I think we wait a week until we get Jalen Hurts through his bye. And then we essentially just sell Kyler Murray for a tight end, right? See if you can go sell Kyler for like someone in the Kincaid range. Go sell Kyler for like Kittle. Now, Sam says 12-team BBR league. We have Allen, Brees, Jacobs, Diggs, Amon-Ra, Ferguson, Higgins. I traded Pittman and Kenneth Walker for Brees Hall. What are your thoughts? If it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, I'm okay doing this with how bad the schedule is rest of season for Kenneth Walker. Probably be kicking yourself this week as Walker does have a great matchup. He should do well against the Commanders. RJ says Kittle or Kincaid. I will go Kincaid over Kittle. Jeep Guy, happy to see ya. Says, hey Mason, 10T BBR double flex. We have Allen, CMC, Eckler, Madison, Henderson, Charbonnet, Mitchell, Diggs, Hopkins, Evans, JSN, Kincaid, and Kyler. 5 and 4 after losing the first 3 weeks. Any trades? Thanks, Mamano. Thank you so much for everything. So we have the elite quarterback, the elite running backs. Now we have viable running back depth with a Cam Akers injury. The only thing I'd say is obviously it does suck us having hit the waiver wire for week 13 to fill in for Josh Allen. But still, ultimately, it's 1 week, right? I would rather prioritize our upside rest of season. So, I mean, if you could sell Kyler and DeAndre Hopkins and go get a wide receiver that you're very excited about for the flex rest of season. I think that would make a lot of sense. If we could go ahead and sell Kyler and DeAndre Hopkins and go get a stud wide receiver. But Big Teach coming out. Happy to see another long-time member of the flock. 6 and 3, 12-team full BBR. Hurts and Kyler, Madison, Singletary, Jeff Wilson, Dermicado, Charbonnet, Chase Olave, Pickens, JSN, Shaheed, tight end Johnny, and Michael Mayer. Who should we drop and who should we pick up? Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. I know you didn't ask for this, but if we were looking trades, we'd sell Kyler for a running back. It's nice that Madison is at least startable now. I think the guys that we're going to be looking to cut, Shaheed will be that first cut for us. And then honestly, I wouldn't mind cutting Jeff Wilson Jr. either. In that with Jeff Wilson, he is splitting the RB2 role, even with an injured Devon Achane. You're going to have Achane good to go coming out of the bye. So I think if we were just talking waiver wire moves, with a team like this where we have a massive hole at running back, what we're going to look to do is we're going to look to go ahead and we're going to look to cut Jeff Wilson Jr. and Shaheed and pick up 2 running backs off waivers that we're a little more excited about. Now, Apex Predators says 12-team BBR, 2 receivers and a flex. We're 5 and 4. We have Herbert, Jacobs, Bijan, Gibbs, Roschon, Waddle, Smith, Ayuk, Higgins, JSN, Dotson, Ferguson, McBride. Any suggestions or upgrades you'd suggest? Not necessarily. Very well balanced team. Great team. I mean, if you wanted to go through and see if we could sell maybe like Brandon Ayuk before Deebo Samuel comes back in and go package him with Ferguson and go get a tight ends in like the Hawkinson, Andrews, Laporta range, we could look to do that. Alex says, one last question, Jets or Niners DST rest of season? I think we actually looked at this maybe in another stream, but let's go ahead and let's pull this up. So if you are looking at the schedule rest of season for the Jets, we have the Raiders, Bills, Dolphins, Falcons, Texans, Dolphins, Commanders, Browns. If you're looking at the the Niners rest of season schedule, you have the Jags, Bucks, Seahawks, Eagles, Seahawks, Cardinals, Ravens, Commanders. So I don't necessarily think one schedule is significantly better than the other. I'm probably going to go ahead and take the Niners, especially as they add in Chase Young. By no means am I a defensive expert, though. Cannot try to come out here and pretend that I am. Now, VTech says 10-player league. PBR, 4 and 5. We have Herbert, Walker, Pollard, Diggs, Wilson, Ayuk, DK, Montgomery, Hubbard, Kyler, Dell. Any moves to make for the playoffs? I don't necessarily think we do anything right now. I think after this next week, we probably look to go ahead and we probably look to sell Kenneth Walker given his playoff schedule, right? But right now it's going to be very difficult to go through and look to sell Kenneth Walker just because he's coming off 2 very, very bad weeks and obviously horrible game against the Ravens. Should be a much better spot against Washington. The Noctorious one says, what's up, brother? I'm 3-6. Need some advice. We have Goff, JT, Eckler, Higgins, Hollywood, Laporta, Kincaid, Kupp, Connor, Kittle, Thomas, Puka, Downs, and Sam Howell. Great team. The only thing is, now that we have Laporta through his bye, let's go through and we got to sell some tight ends here, my man. Let's sell Kincaid. Let's package him together with Higgins. Get the best wide receiver we can. Let's sell Kittle. Let's package him together with Goff and get the best quarterback that we can. And let's just roll with Laporta rest of season, right? And we have a ton of value here. Let's just take advantage of some of that tight end value. VTech says, forgot to add Andrews, Josh Downs, and Ferguson. Okay, yeah, nothing changes there, but it's just much better team in that case. Damian says 10-team half BBR format. Being offered Moss and Cooper Kupp for Amon-Ra and Dak. We have Justin Herbert at quarterback, Taylor at running back. Wondering if I should get a handcuff. Thoughts on the deal? I'd rather have Amon-Ra over Cooper Kupp, Dak versus Zach Moss. Even if we have Jonathan Taylor, Dak has more value. So I think we're downgrading at wide receiver and losing value at the same time elsewhere. So honestly, no, I don't do this deal. I'm fine if you wanted to sell Dak. I think we just need a better price. Now, Skyward says, have BBR 10-team single flex. We have Hurts, Swift, Bijan, AJ, Moore, Hawkinson, Puka. And then on the bench, we have Kyron, JSN, Dell, Taysom. Do I panic on Puka, Bijan, any moves you think? Honestly, no. I think you're chilling as is. I think it's a great team. Just kind of wait until we get Kyron Williams back in. I mean, I wouldn't mind throwing Taysom Hill on the trade block if we have TJ Hawkinson and just see what we could get from the Dallas Goedert team. But by no means do you have to sell the guy. But yeah, that could be something we look to do. Brandon says 4-player keeper, 10-team league. Got offered Eckler and Dell for Saquon and Waddle. We have JT Gibbs, AJ Andrews, Hurts, Lockett, McLaurin, Javonte. What are your thoughts? Waddle versus Dell, Waddle by a mile. Eckler versus Saquon, Eckler by a mile. I think it's a fair deal. I think Eckler's the best player in it. I am terrified of the Giants offense, so I'm fine if you wanted to go through and make it. Chief Reaver says, have BBR for the flex, JSN, Dotson, Ford, or Charbonnet. I'm going to go with Jackson, Smith, and Jigba against Washington. Lil J says, trade offer Waddle for Pacheco and Shoemaker. Shoemaker's not worth the roster spot. I'd rather have Waddle over Pacheco. Montel says 6-3 in a 12-team BBR league. The team is Lamar, Diggs, Adams, Collins, Lockett, Montgomery, Kamara, Mixon, Downs, Hunt. Should I trade Kamara for Chase? Phenomenal team, my friend. I mean, especially if we're sitting here with Montgomery and Mixon at running back. Yes, trade Kamara for Jamar Chase. We will have to go through and monitor the Jamar Chase back injury, but as stands now, I think he should be good to go, and obviously really excited about him. Now, Ginger the Plug says, was offered Waddle and Kamara for Diggs. Who wins? I think it's a very fair deal. If it's like a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, probably keep the best player. See where depth matters. They can go Waddle and Kamara here. Now, Jumpin' Jack says 12-team PPR, 4-5. With Lamar, Ramadre, Singletary, Lamb, Ayuk, Kelsey, Dell. And then on the bench, Ridley, Addison, Jameson, Spears, Jeff Wilson Jr., Kyler on the IR. What running back should I look to trade for to keep me in till Kyron comes back in to pair with? Tough spot, right? Because we are just looking for that short-term fill-in. So, I mean, if you were desperate, if you want to sell like Ridley for Chuba Hubbard, you could go ahead and you could look to make that move. I mean, Chuba Hubbard's starting running back for Carolina right now, so at least you are getting guaranteed touches. Obviously, you're not excited about that for long-term upside, but you are 4-5, and we already do have the long-term upside with Kyron Williams. So I understand if you wanted to go out there and make that play. Now, J.A. says 3-6 full BBR, where we have Herbert, Lamb, Chase, Thielen, Laporta, Brees, Jacobs. And then on the bench, Kyler, Deontay, Jefferson, Goddard, Aaron Jones being offered Kupp, Carr for Thielen and Herbert. So yeah, if we have Kyler Murray coming back in, Kyler versus Herbert, kind of up to you. I'd way rather have Kupp over Thielen. I will make this move. The only hesitation I would have with it is if you are looking at Cooper Kupp, you're going to get one fewer game out of him than Adam Thielen the rest of the season. And on a 3-6 roster, that does matter. Now, Jack says 6-3, 10-team BBR single flex. We have Mahomes, Bijan, Eckler, A.J. Brown, Waddle, Hockenson, Hollywood. Should have moved Mahomes and Bijan for Hurts, Kupp, and Warren. Warren would be RB2. Mahomes to Hurts, lateral move up to you. Bijan to Kupp and Warren, probably Kupp and Warren. So yes, I do go ahead and make the move. Obviously, then at running back, we are in a very tough spot, but we are 6-3, and it's only a 10-team league, so we can work the waiver wire over the next few weeks. Jose says full BBR, Hubbard, Foreman, or Javonte. I'm 5-4. Gonna go Hubbard. Javonte has a very tough matchup going up against Buffalo. Brandon says 6-3, 10-team BBR. We have Watson, Kyler, Pollard, Connor, Chuba, Cook, Hill, Higgins, DJ, Amari, Deontay, Palmer, Nico, Sutton, Andrews. What moves should we look to make? We have a ton of wide receiver depth here. So, I mean, if you wanted to go through and see if we could sell like Nico and maybe one of these running backs like Chuba Hubbard and go get a long-term upgraded RB, I think that could make some sense here. I think that Nico Collins could potentially be a sell-high candidate, and that if you look at the target volume, it's not like he's the alpha target anymore in Houston. It's more so just this offense is so good. He's kept on producing. Trust Lock says Hurts, JT, Jacobs, A.J. Brown, Lamb, Keenan, Collins, Ingram, and then on the bench, Jason, Spears, Dobbs. Any moves? Plus, would you trade Collins for Dell and Addison? Double flex league, so, I mean, we would cut Romeo Dobbs at that point, I'm assuming. So you can make this deal if you want. I mean, Dell and Collins have been a lot closer as of late. And we are picking up Addison. So if it's a double flex league, I think this is the trade that we look to make. I think we probably just then go ahead and let go of Romeo Dobbs. Anthony says, Puka for Devonta Smith. We have A.J. Brown. Thanks, Mason. Thank you. Probably going to go Puka rest of season. With that being said, maybe make an argument for Devonta. Actually, no, we're going to go Smith. Now that you have no Dallas Goedert, I think we go Smith with the target volume. Ryan says, Kelsey, bye. Are we going to go Jonnu, Auden, or Hunter Henry? Probably going to go Kate Auden. I don't know. I'm not going to go Hunter Henry. It's either Kate Auden or Jonnu Smith. Now, Todd says 10-team BBR 6-3. Just traded Kittle and Brian Robinson for Saquon. Good move. We have Kincaid thinking about picking up Taysom. Other running backs are Jacob Stevenson. I'm not even a big Saquon guy at this point because how bad the offense is. But honestly, I think considering your situation and that price makes a lot of sense. Vincent, always happy to see us, says 12-team, have BBR double flex 3-6. We have Burrow, Diggs, St. Brown, Eckler, JT, Higgins, Mixon. And then on the bench, we have Thomas, Algier, Dell, Ridley, Judy. Went from CMC to Diggs, Mixon. Downs to Higgins, Etienne to Eckler. Ayuk, Devonta Smith to St. Brown. Oh my gosh. All these trades happened last week. 3-6. It sucks, but we've completely overhauled our roster where I do think that it makes a lot of sense. How the hell did we get Higgins for Downs? My favorite of the deals are trading Downs for Higgins and trading Ayuk and Devonta Smith for Amon-Ra St. Brown. But yeah, I think you'll be in a much, much better spot now, my friend. Jake says, hey, Mason, love your vids. 3-6, 10-team BBR. We have Fields, Saquon, Hall, Diggs, Kupp, Laporta, Hollywood. And then on the bench, HN on the IR was offered CMC and JSN for Diggs and Brees. JSN, not really making a difference here. I probably would rather have CMC, though. Especially with CMC already through his bye. With Stephon Diggs, you're going to have one fewer game as well. And CMC ultimately, at the end of the day, is just in a completely different tier than any other player in fantasy. James says, I have Mostert, Gibbs, Chuba. Who should we try to upgrade for at RB? I mean, if you could pivot from like Mostert to Bijan Robinson before Devon Achane comes back in, I wouldn't mind going out there and making that move, my friend. Brendan says 6-3, second place, 10-team BBR, 2 receivers, 2 flex. We have Allen Jacobs, Brian Robinson, Tyreek, Puka, Ayuk, Dell, Laporta. Is Brian Robinson and Laporta for Aaron Jones too little? We have Kincaid. I think so. I mean, just a general rule of thumb here that I think can help you out a ton. And this is like why we made this for everybody. And we made it free as well. So please make sure you are taking advantage of it. It's on flogfantasy.com. You can go ahead and you can pull up what you have. Just go to the rankings page, hit 2023. And then you can see where Laporta is ranked in comparison to who we're trading for, right? I mean, here, if you're looking at Aaron Jones at 35. Laporta's at 46. So maybe, I mean, I don't know. I think Laporta is honestly probably too much of a discount at this price point. I don't have much Laporta at all. I hope I'm wrong. I guess if you're looking at those rankings, maybe I'm misreading the market with Laporta. Maybe that is a fine deal. Now, Jared says Kelsey and Mahomes for Burrow, Cup, and one more piece. Mahomes to Burrow downgrade, Kelsey to Cup. I'm 4-5 full BBR. Just want to flip that stack. Just not sure if I honestly keep the stack. I think you hold as is. I mean, if it's a significant piece, then maybe. But I think they'll be much better going forward. Johnny says 12-team non-BBR single flex. We have Tua, Eckler, Walker, Hopkins, Addison, Hockenson, Mixon, James Cook, Watson, Sutton, Rice, Hunt, Foreman. First question rephrased. Would you trade Eckler and Hopkins for Tyreek? Yes, I would. Or prefer Walker and Hopkins for Diggs? I would honestly do either or. Non-PBR format. If it was a full PBR league, I think we would do the Walker deal. Non-PBR league, though, I think I'm a little bit less excited about Austin Eckler. The reason you want Eckler is just given his usage as a receiver. So I think non-BBR format, I'd actually probably do the Eckler for Tyreek deal. Chris says, would you do Cook, Kyler, and Ayuk for DJ and Swift? So Ayuk to DJ, slight downgrade. Kyler and Cook to Swift, big time upgrade. Yeah, I would do that. Now, Joe Stu, happy to see us, has traded Bijan Addison for Aaron Jones Higgins and Walker Kirk for White Warren. I don't like the second deal. The first one's okay, depending on your personal preference. I'm not in love with either, to be honest with you. The squad is Stroud, White, Jones, Amon-Ra, Lamb, Kittle, Higgins. And then on the bench, we have Warren, Lawrence, Deontay. Yeah, I think it's a very well-balanced team. It's fine if you wanted to do it. I just don't necessarily know how excited we would be about it. Now, Jordan says, thank you to A.J. Brown or Jefferson rest of season. We're going to go A.J. Brown, not close with the Cousins injury. Eli says, 12-team BBR, 8-1, double flex. We have Lamar, Stafford, Etienne, Jacobs, Jones, Roschon, Hill, Smith, Pittman, Dotson, Douglas, Odell, Kelsey, Otten. Worried about the depth. 100% understand where you're coming from with the depth here, but at the same time, I mean, this is a league where we're 8-1, right? So even if it's a double flex format, you are going to have a lot of time. You are going to have a lot of flexibility. To go through and make waiver wire pickups as the season goes on. So the only thing I would say is after we get Kelsey back from his bye, let's go ahead and let's cut Cade Otton, pick up another running back wide receiver, and just try to solve the depth issue with the waiver wire, not through trade. Now, Joshua says, hey, Mason, 7-2, 12-team BBR. We have Allen, Mixon, Gibbs, Chase, Lamb, Kelsey, Deontay. And then on the bench, we have Love, Singletary, Ferguson, Jameson. Any moves? Thank you. Thank you. Not necessarily. I think it's a great team as is. The only thing I'd potentially say is like, okay, I don't even think we do that now because obviously we have to deal with the Josh Allen bye in a few weeks. So after the Josh Allen bye, then cut Jordan Love and go find someone else off the waiver wire, running back, wide receiver that we like. But very well-balanced format, I think. Very well-balanced team. I think we keep it as is. Now, Jinda says, what's up, man? Got offered Bijan in the second for Gibbs in an early first. Do we pull the trigger and accept? Not a win now team. We have 2 firsts. It's a super flex 10-team format. If it is a top 3 pick, I would rather have the pick and Gibbs over Bijan. If it is that top 3 pick, I think we take the package, even if it is very tough to say. Now, TCQ says 5-4, 10-team at BBR. We have Hurts, Etienne, White, Diggs, Lamb, Goddard, Hopkins, Godwin. And then on the bench, Hunt, Dell, Jameson, Kyron, Latavius, Douglas. Good offered Brees, Hawkins, and Ayuk for Lamb, or Diggs and Douglas / Latavius. What are your thoughts? 10-team league, I think the depth doesn't matter that much here. I think we already have plenty of it. So I think that making the trade where we sell one of our studs for 3 pieces in return maybe makes sense in some scenarios. However, this is not one in my mind. So honestly, I think that we probably hold as is, to be honest with you. I think we hold as is. Paul says, Walker for Michael Pittman or Walker for Kirk / Amari. It's a full BBR league. We actually need a wide receiver too here, which is interesting. I'd probably go Kirk and Amari with us not really having the wide receiver depth. Very rare instance where a team doesn't have enough wide receiver depth here. Jay says PBR single QB, 10-team, triple flex. Burrow, Brees, Mixon, Lamb, Ayuk, Smith, Hawkinson, Gibbs, Najee. On the bench, we have Herbert, Pierce, Rice, JSN. Any tips on the team, and is it a contender? Oh, 100% this is a contender, my man. I really do like the roster. I mean, super brief. I know it's boring, but if you could go through and if you could potentially sell, like, say, Justin Herbert in a package, maybe with, say, I don't know, one of these flex options like Najee Harris, and go get an option that we're more excited about for the flex, I think that'd make a lot of sense. Whenever, I mean, we are sitting with a quarterback we can start every single week, regardless of matchup, going forward with Joe Burrow. And he's already through his bye. Now, Brian says 6-3, 12-team league. We have Stroud, Olave, Waddle, Pollard, Barkley, Kelsey. The flex is Higgins. On the bench, we have White, Spears, Kincaid, Watson, Ridley, Watson, Kyler. Any moves? The thing is, we're rostering 3 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends. Obviously, when we have Kelsey, we're chilling. So all I would do is I would wait until we have Kelsey through his bye. Then next week, I think Kincaid is expendable. We can go through and we can send Kincaid and Barkley and go get a much better running back. Or honestly, maybe even now, as we get, say, Kyler Murray back in and we have Deshaun Watson back in, if we don't want to roster 3 quarterbacks, if you wanted to take Barkley and Stroud and go get an upgrade at running baback right now, I think it could also be something we look to do with how bad the Giants' offense is. Now, Andrew says 12-team PBR 5-4. Mahomes, Hall, Amon-Ra, Amari, Pitts, McBride, Ford, Sutton, Algier, Jeff Wilson Jr., Sam Howell. Any moves was offered Adam Thielen for Adams or Ferguson for Ford. That is an interesting spot in that possibly you do want to go through and trade for a tight ends. I just don't know if that is the price point in which we want to be doing so. Thielen, Adams, just up to you. It's personal preference. I think it's a very well-balanced roster. If you wanted to sell Ford for a tight end, I think you can. I would just probably rather have a better piece here. I don't know if Ferguson's like really moving the needle for us. Flock Soldier says, who should we start Atlanta or Pittsburgh? Or the Raiders? Let me pull up the implied team totals again. So if you have no Kyler, you're definitely playing the Atlanta defense. If not, honestly, I think we're probably going to go ahead and play the Raiders going up against the Jets. The Raiders are dogs here, though. Anthony says 12-team BBR 6-3. Need a tight end and looking to trade away from Walker. Got offered Laporta 1-for-1. Should we accept? We have Etienne or Brees and solid at wide receiver. In a full BBR format, I'm completely fine with you doing so. I think if you look at like the community rankings on flogfantasy.com right now, Sam Laporta is dramatically undervalued, and I think you can't make that move. Keaton says top 5 defenses this week. Let's go ahead and pull this up. Okay. Cowboys number 1. Ravens number 2. Jets number... No, I'll go Jets number 2. Ravens number 3. Then honestly, I think you're looking at like Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, Tampa as your other options. Now, Amachi says 5-4, 12-team BBR, single flex. We have Stroud, Henry, Hall, Lamb, Smith, Kittle, Jones. And then on the bench, Dell, Lockett, Downs. Looking to get Diggs. They want Henry and Dell. I offered Jones. I'll do either deal. Yeah. I mean, I like us sending a counter, but if they reject, I'll do their Henry trade. Pro says getting Tua and Devontae, giving Swift, Godwin, and McLaurin. Honestly, probably don't do it for Tua. I'd probably do it for a top 3 quarterback like Jalen Hurts. Miguel says 12-team BBR is 6-3. We have Allen, Burrow, Waddle, Higgins, Samuel, Elijah, Palmer, Bijan, Montgomery, Kamara, Hunt, Kelsey. Any moves or upgrades I can do? Thanks, Space. Thank you. Phenomenal team. I mean, if we have Burrow and he's startable every single week going forward, I mean, this is just a great team. If you wanted to sell like Josh Allen and go get Travis Etienne, like send Josh Allen and Kareem Hunt and go get Etienne and get that elite level player for the flex, we can look to do that. Just great team. Kareem says, what's up, man? Love the channel. Thank you. 10-team, full BBR format. We lost 3 straight, but we're 6-3. We have Herbert, Pacheco, Madison, Jamar, Kupp, Komet, Adams. The bench is Javonte, Hubbard, Higgins, Hollywood, Singletary. Any moves? So obviously, I mean, it's been primarily because of Cooper Kupp that we have been losing these games over the past 2 weeks. I think going forward, this should be a much, much better team. The only thing I'd say is if you wanted to pivot off of like Justin Herbert, maybe selling like a running back depth piece, like going through and maybe moving like, say, Chuba Hubbard, or maybe moving like Hollywood Brown and Justin Herbert to pivot over to like Joe Burrow. Maybe you can go ahead and make that play if you wanted to. But ultimately, you're in a phenomenal spot here, my friend. Now, Ryan says 10-team single flex, Wilson, Jacobs, or any Detroit running back for Eckler. I would trade Garrett Wilson in a full and Dave Montgomery in a full BBR format for Eckler. I'd do that easily. Thomas says thoughts on Myers and Stroud for Mahomes. It's Mahomes, not close. Don't overreact to what we had this week. Like says HN for Higgins and Connor. We have Bijan and JT. If it's a league where it's like a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, I'm going to keep the best player in HN. I mean, if it's a league where depth matters, I think it's a very fair price point to go out there and get that package, though. But I think that should be it for this live stream. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with us, ladies and gentlemen. If you have not done so already, subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. Today was day 194 of live streaming every single day. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and a Bryce Young special pickup more than less than half a total yards. So make sure you take advantage. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate you, and really hope I get to see you on the live stream tomorrow night.